Hexes, Exes, and Daycare Disasters, Part 1, by Wynn Valentine. Copyright 2026, by Wynn Valentine. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means, including information storage and retrieval systems, without written permission from the author, except for the use of brief quotations in a book review. Chapter 1. Hazel Pendergast had written rules for biting, levitation, spontaneous combustion, and one regrettable incident involving a sentient pudding. She had not written a rule for interviewing a man while a toddler held the snack schedule hostage. "One pouch," Bix Nwosu said from atop the reading table. His tiny vampire fangs gleamed beneath the fluorescent lights. "Every afternoon, or we strike." Hazel tightened her grip on the plum-colored rule binder. "You are 6. The young are the future of labor." The young had a blood pouch at 10:30. "Management always invokes the past." Across the room, Mina Sayag nodded gravely, although she had joined the daycare only 2 weeks earlier and believed collective bargaining was a kind of train. Beside her, Clover Quill crouched beneath the craft table with 6 spoons tucked into her romper and a thin ribbon of smoke escaping one nostril. The Rusk twins were quiet. Hazel's head snapped toward the playyard window. Quiet from ordinary 4-year-olds was suspicious. Quiet from shapeshifting twins with an oral contact anomaly was the opening paragraph of an insurance claim. Netta and Oren stood shoulder to shoulder, noses pressed to the glass. Outside, a green frog clung to the sill. "Look with your eyes," Hazel called. 4 hands clasped behind 2 backs. "We are," Netta said. "Eyes only." Oren's mouth closed with an audible click. The brass entry bell rang. Its anti-glamour note rolled through Abracadabra Daycare, turning the enchanted ceiling clouds briefly pink, and causing the paper moon over the reading burrow to sneeze glitter. Hazel looked at the wall clock. 9 sharp. Her interview had arrived on time. Naturally, the rest of her life had chosen punctuality as the moment to disintegrate. Cal Daugherty filled the doorway. Not stood in it, filled it. He was broad enough to make the reinforced fame look aspirational, with auburn brown hair that needed a trim, a crooked nose, and a faded green flannel overshirt rolled over heavy forearms. A child-sized orange and blue friendship bracelet circled one wrist. He paused with one hand on the door, taking in the room. The vampire negotiator on the table, the smoking dragon toddler beneath it, the 18-month-old werewolf digging a cracker out of his own fur, the twins inching toward the window latch. His hazel eyes returned to Hazel. "Interview? Obstacle course," she said. "The interview is hidden inside it." The dish towel hanging from the play kitchen handle caught fire. Hazel reached for the spark blanket, but the stranger moved first. He crossed the room in 2 long strides, scooped the metal wastebasket over the burning towel, and planted one work boot on the lid. With his other hand, he intercepted Oren. The frog had somehow moved from outside the window to inside the room. Hazel decided not to examine the transportation issue while it was halfway to a child's mouth. Callum cupped his palm gently over Oren's lips. "No eating coworkers," he said. Oren's brown eyes went wide above the man's knuckles. He removed the hand after Oren nodded. "Not worker," the boy said. "Frog. Union rules are broad." Bix considered this, then nodded approvingly. Hazel extinguished the towel with a clipped word and a snap of her fingers. Blue light flared beneath the wastebasket. The fire died, leaving a soot ring and the smell of scorched cotton. Color drained from the edge of Hazel's vision. The West Ward had eaten too much of her magic that morning, but the licensing inspection had found a weak seam last week, and a weak seam around shifter children was not something a responsible provider postponed. She steadied herself against the counter before anyone noticed. Callum noticed. His gaze dropped to her white-knuckled hand and rose again. He did not mention it in front of the children. Good instincts. Inconvenient face, crooked-nosed, intent, and far too appealing for a provisional employee. Assuming she hired him. "Mr. Daugherty," she said. "My office. Call me Cal." He glanced down at the wastebasket. Something thumped beneath it. "Should I remove my boot?" "Not yet." He followed her past the reading burrow. Bix cleared his throat. "Our negotiations?" "Recessed for 5 minutes. Management requests delay when challenged." Cal murmured, "He's good. Do not encourage him." Hazel's office had no glass, because a 2-year-old warlock had once discovered reflections could be used as portals. It had taken 3 firefighters and a bowl of mashed banana to retrieve him from the barbershop across the street. Cal lowered himself into the reinforced visitor chair. The chair complained anyway. Hazel sat behind her desk and opened his application. "You listed construction as your primary work history. 11 years. Framing, finish work, site management, and emergency retrieval of apprentices who believed safety harnesses were philosophical. No formal childcare. No paid childcare." He took 3 cards from his wallet and placed them on her desk. Emergency shifting response, magical first aid, and mixed species food handling. All current, all issued by organizations Hazel trusted. "My pack shares cub duty," he said. "I helped with 6. 2 biters, 1 sleep shifter, 1 climber, and twins who could locate an unsecured permanent marker across county lines." "Human twins?" "Wolf. So the permanent marker could run?" One corner of his mouth lifted. "Not fast enough." Hazel looked down before he caught her almost smiling. The licensing board had given her 10 days to hire a second species qualified caregiver, or close Abracadabra during the 60-day probation period. She had already interviewed a pixie who refused indoor shoes, a warlock who called children larval clients, and a kelpie whose employment contract required a decorative pond. Cal smelled faintly of cedar, cinnamon, and outdoor air. Bear shifter, unless Hazel missed her guess. Strong enough to restrain a panicked werewolf and calm enough not to prove it. "Why did you leave construction?" she asked. The owner retired, sold the equipment, and dissolved the crew. References? Page 2. They were. Hazel disliked the small flare of pleasure that came from an applicant who had followed her requested format. "Why daycare?" His expression changed. It did not soften exactly. It settled, as if she had finally asked the question for which he had prepared. "Construction was useful," he said. "This looks useful in a way that knows your name." Something inside Hazel's chest shifted half an inch. She immediately disliked it. From the main room came Mina's apologetic voice. "Sorry in advance." Hazel was out of her chair before the banshee shriek hit. Every cupboard opened at once. A stack of paper plates launched from the kitchen. Bix's emergency blood pouch shot out of the refrigerator, sailed over Clover's head, and landed in Cal's waiting hand as he entered behind Hazel. He passed it to Bix. "Management concession," he said. "We have not agreed to terms," Hazel said. "Interim release." Bix climbed down from the table. "The strike is conditionally suspended." Mina pointed to the hall bathroom, where water crept beneath the door. "I saw the inconvenience," she said. Hazel opened the bathroom and found Gus Petrov sitting in the sink. His diaper floated in the toilet, which had begun overflowing with pink balls. The enchanted step stool danced in panic. Cal rolled up his sleeves. "Plumbing shut off?" "Behind the toilet." "Child?" "Werewolf, do not lift him by the armpits during a fear response." Pressure around the ribcage, feet supported. He knew. Hazel turned off the water while Cal coaxed Gus from the sink. The toddler's gray wolf ears emerged, then receded when Cal let him grip 2 of his large fingers. "I fell up," Gus said. "Happens," Cal replied. "Gravity gets confused indoors." By the time they returned to the main room, the daycare smelled of cinnamon disinfectant, damp fur, and the metallic sweetness of Bix's snack. Cal had pink soap bubbles clinging to his boots. He did not appear eager to escape. Hazel studied him beside the soot-stained wastebasket. He had entered chaos and looked for the job inside it. "1-week trial," she said. "Tomorrow, 7 sharp." His grin arrived slowly and did unfortunate things to the half-inch in her chest. "Is it always like this?" "No," Hazel said. "Tuesdays have yogurt." The trial offer should have ended the interview. Instead, Cal looked past her toward the hand-painted map beside the office door. "Can I see the rest?" Hazel hesitated. Most applicants had asked about pay first, break second, and whether the children's powers could damage personal vehicles third. The pixie had requested an aerial survey of the roof, but refused to enter the nap room because the curtains were spiritually beige. "The tour is part of paid orientation. Then deduct 14 minutes tomorrow." "That is not how payroll works." "Good. I hate math before lunch." Abracadabra occupied a converted union hall, and its bones still showed beneath the bright paint. The main room had once held folding chairs and arguments about textile wages. Hazel had preserved the raised platform as a reading stage, and turned the old coat room into species-adjusted nap pockets. The former records office held Bix's shaded cubby and a locked refrigerator with blood pouches labeled by source, type, and date. Cal paused at the quiet nook. Its padded walls curved inward like a burrow. Weighted blankets filled one basket. Shoe-safe charms filled another. Not a punishment corner, he said. Regulation requires a low-stimulation recovery area. Children choose it or are offered it. No one is confined. He tested the shelf with one hand. Loose anchor. Hazel crouched beside him. The screw had backed halfway out of old plaster. She had inspected the shelf Sunday. West wall movement, she said. How much? 1/8 inch since spring. That's not movement. That's a building considering movement. The ward channel runs behind it. Then the ward is pushing against the stud. Hazel looked at him. Wards do not push. Cal placed her fingertips against the plaster and braced his other hand lower. Beneath the painted surface, a faint vibration traveled between them. Something does. She felt it, not magical force exactly, but old timber responding to the ward's alternating temperature. The discovery irritated her because it was useful. You may have earned a second week. I haven't started the first. Do not become complacent. In the nap room, he examined each climate pocket without touching the controls. The cool werewolf corner. The humid dragon cot. Mina's acoustically padded canopy. Hazel explained why mixed-species childcare required a second qualified adult. If one child shifted dangerously, someone had to manage the crisis, while someone else kept the remaining children safe. The board found the staffing gap during a surprise inspection, she said. Were you alone? My previous aide quit 6 minutes before opening. 6 minutes? She received a vision that she would meet her soulmate on a ferry. Did she? She met a maritime welder named Clive. They are engaged. Cal considered this. Hard to argue with results. I can argue with notice periods. They entered the play yard. Granite walls sheltered it on two sides. The cedar fence faced the alley. Chalk roads crossed the pavement. A small garden occupied the sunny strip, planted with mint, thyme, and milkweed for the monarch caterpillars. Cal nodded toward the twins, who had returned to the window. Their limit really is frog? Frog is the largest recorded form. Their magic collapses if they attempt anything larger. Insects, spiders, tiny amphibians. Useful limitation. Only until you lose a child in a box of crayons. His humor vanished. Has that happened? Caterpillar. 47 minutes off my life. What did you change afterward? Hazel pointed to the clear craft bins, white sorting trays, and magnifying lamps mounted above the tables. Cal took in every modification. You don't just make rules. Rules without environmental support are wishes wearing stern clothes. I'm stealing that. Cite your source. The kitchen hatch opened and Deacon Yep's green face appeared through it. I smelled burned cloth and male confusion. New hire? Applicant, Hazel said. Cal. He offered a hand through the hatch. Deacon shook it. Neighbor, emergency baker, and neutral witness when Hazel pretends she isn't funny. The hatch is a revocable privilege, Hazel said. Deacon slid a paper bag onto the counter. Rye knots. Full ingredient sheet attached. I respect the state. Cal read the label before taking one. Hazel noticed. That more than the certifications and quick reflexes, decided her. Care was often a collection of tiny, unglamorous acts performed when no one asked. 7 tomorrow, she repeated as they returned to the entry. Cal fastened his coat. I'll bring my own yogurt. Outside dairy requires labeling. Of course it does. After he left, she added his temporary credentials to the employee system. The tablet asked her to connect him to the authorized pickup directory. Hazel opened the list. Bell, Tansy, age 5, Fox shifter presentation, authorized adults, Maribel Bell, Everett Bell. Across town, Cal Daugherty opened the same orientation packet on his phone while waiting for coffee. He scrolled past allergy protocols, ward maps, and the daycare's policy on involuntary flight. Then he reached the family roster. Maribel's name stared back at him. The coffee machine hissed. A paper cup overflowed against his hand.
Chapter 2. Hal's first mistake was believing the plum binder contained all the rules. Hazel met him at 7 with a key on a retractable cord, 3 forms, and coffee in a mug that read, "Keep calm and check the wards." The command had failed at the manufacturing stage. Nothing about her looked calm. "Shoes stay on unless contaminated," she said. "No exposed silver. Blood products remain in the marked refrigerator. If Mina says she's sorry, secure anything breakable before asking why. And if the twins go quiet? Hazel stopped beside the cubbies. Find them. That one was not in the binder. By 8:15, Cal had learned that Gus Petrov stored crackers in his werewolf fur. Clover's spoon hoard migrated according to a logic known only to dragons, and Bix considered any liquid in an opaque cup a potential civil rights violation. He had also learned Hazel was funny when she wasn't trying to be. Oren Rusk, she called. Cease and desist. Oren had his hands cupped around a frog near the playyard drain. The frog was ordinary, green, damp, and displaying the poor judgment typical of creatures that entered daycare property voluntarily. Oren lifted it toward his mouth. Cal moved. Hazel did too. They collided at the child. Hazel's shoulder, Cal's chest. His hand closed over hers around Oren's wrists. For half a second, Cal registered cardamom, chalk dust, and the startling warmth of her back against him. Then Oren licked the frog. Magic snapped wetly. The child disappeared from inside his clothes. A small green frog landed in one green rain boot. Hazel stared down. That, Cal said, feels administratively significant. Netta squealed. My turn. She dove for the original frog. Cal caught her around the middle. Hazel flung a containment spell at the two amphibians. A clear bubble sprang into being around the nearest warm body. Unfortunately, Hazel was warmer than either frog. The bubble sealed around her with a crystalline hum. Cal held Netta under one arm. Can you undo that? Inside the bubble, Hazel's mouth flattened. She tapped the curved wall with one finger. The bubble rolled backward. Hazel rolled with it, struck the low bookcase, and continued upside down across the washable green floor. I'll put you down as a maybe, Cal said. Her glare could have sterilized medical equipment. He relocated Netta to the quiet nook with a stack of animal picture cards. Pictures don't work, right? They do not, Hazel said from inside the bubble. Neither do toys, dead specimens, illustrations, statues, or food shaped like an animal. Netta immediately licked a photograph of a llama. Nothing happened. She looked betrayed by science. Cal crouched beside the pile of Oren's clothes. Where's the first frog? Hazel stopped rolling. They both looked toward the shelves. 2 frogs were gone. Nobody moves, Hazel ordered. Clover stopped chewing a wooden spoon. Gus, who had been asleep beneath a cushion, poked out a fluffy gray head. Cal lowered himself to his stomach. Bear senses were excellent for many things. Locating 2 damp creatures in a room scented with toast, cleanser, dragon smoke, wolf pup, and the metallic sweet trace of Bix's breakfast was not among them. He closed his eyes. Tiny movement beneath the block shelf. A quick amphibian scrape. Then stillness. Oren, Cal said quietly. Being little in a big room is scary. The movement stopped. I get big when I'm scared. Terrible system. Shirts are expensive. Hazel's bubble popped. She landed on her knees, with 2 pencils still miraculously in her hair. A small green nose appeared beneath the shelf. Your sister is about to lick a photograph of a llama again, Cal said. I don't have the heart to explain photography twice. The frog hopped forward. Cal held out his palm. Frog Oren climbed onto it, cold toes pressing his skin. The second frog leaped toward the yard. Hazel trapped it beneath a ventilated snack dome. How did you know what to say? She asked. Shifted children usually need somebody to talk to the instinct, without forgetting the child. Something changed in her face. Not surprise exactly. A door unlatching 1 careful inch. That is correct. I treasure this lavish praise. Magic shivered over Cal's hand. The frog stretched, blurred, and became a naked 4-year-old boy who immediately announced, hungry. Also correct. Hazel handed him a blanket. Shifting snack table. Oren ate banana slices, crackers, cheese, and 1 corner of the incident form before Hazel rescued it. Cal carried the damp incident form to the counter. Upper limit recovery protocol. Blanket, shifting snack, and no chasing. Frog instincts favor water and narrow damp spaces. Spiders. Hazel's scrub brush stopped. Yes, you said that like a person discussing tax fraud. I have no issue with spiders. A cellar spider lowered itself from the window frame. Hazel moved behind Cal so fast, his flannel stirred. He looked over his shoulder. She stood very straight, rule binder held across her chest like armor. No issue, he repeated. It is in the child care area without authorization. Trespassing. Exactly. Cal carried it outside on an index card. When he returned, Hazel had recovered enough to pretend she had never used him as a human shield. The rest of the day developed a rhythm. Cal built a higher latch for the playyard gate, while Hazel led story time. He convinced Gus to nap by letting the pup curl against his bare, warm side. He learned Mina's shrieks predicted inconvenience in proportion to duration. 3 seconds meant spilled paint, 10 meant plumbing. Anything longer required turning off electricity. At lunch, Bix pushed his cup toward Cal. Contents? Water. Verified? Cal drank from it. Bix gasped. Chain of custody compromised. Hazel made a choking sound near the refrigerator. The laugh lasted less than a second, but it changed the room. Hazel usually carried authority like a full tray, balanced, deliberate, no wasted movement. Laughter tipped it just enough to show the woman beneath. She caught him looking. What? Nothing. That answer has never meant nothing. I was surprised. By you. Her eyes narrowed, but color warmed her cheeks. Before she could interrogate him, Clover abandoned her lunch and climbed onto the play kitchen. The quarter-dragon child spread both arms. Fly. You do not have wings, Hazel said. Fly anyway. That is falling. Clover jumped. Cal caught her against his chest. A spark sneezed from her nose and burned a neat hole through his overshirt. She looked at the damage. Again. Flight canceled for maintenance. Hazel inspected the hole while Cal still held the child. Her fingers brushed the fabric over his sternum. His bear registered the contact with embarrassing enthusiasm. Spark-resistant apron, she said. Hook 3. You have protective clothing in my size? I have protective clothing in every reasonable size. He looked down at himself. The apron has extensions, she added. I choose to hear that as an apology. During the children's rest period, Hazel conducted the rest of his orientation. She showed him emergency medication, parent communication protocols, incident thresholds, and the locked drawer containing objects removed from mouths. The collection included a brass button, 2 polished stones, a toy wheel, a silver-free coin, and something that looked like a fossilized mushroom. Is that evidence? He asked. Unclaimed property. From this century? Unclear. At the back of the drawer sat a tiny wooden ladybug. Cal held it up. Twin bait? A failed teaching tool. They licked it 6 times and concluded the manufacturer had made a defective insect. Maybe label it. I did. On the underside, in Hazel's precise handwriting, were the words, not alive. Cal placed it back with reverence. They checked the playyard viewing box measurements. Hazel explained that frog was not merely the twins' largest possible form. It was the most dangerous. Frog instincts made them jump, seek water, and hide in narrow, damp spaces. Insect forms were easier to lose, but less mobile. Spiders? Cal asked. Hazel opened the first aid cabinet. No recorded spider shift at daycare. That wasn't an answer. Spiders climb, descend, and trespass. Professionally concerning. Extremely. A small brown spider moved across the top shelf. Hazel shut the cabinet so hard the medication bottles rattled. Cal looked at her. Inventory complete, she said. It remains inside. That is outside the scope of inventory. He carried the spider to the yard on a paper cup, while Hazel supervised from a distance she would later describe as appropriate. At 2, June Rusk arrived with the twins' updated specialist plan. She had a salt-stiff blonde braid, a canvas mechanic's jacket, and the rolling stride of a selkie who had spent the morning repairing engines on the harbor. You're the bear, she said to Cal. Usually. If one of mine turns bug, don't slap anything. That was my plan. People say that until a spider drops on them. Hazel dropped a stack of forms. June looked over. Still? This is not a topic. She once made me check her hair for 20 minutes because a cobweb touched it. It moved. Cal crouched to retrieve the forms before Hazel could weaponize them. When he handed them back, she gave him a look that promised consequences if he smiled. He saved the smile for later. June's plan clarified the mass ceiling and sympathetic tether. As one twin shifted, the other's magic became restless. Separating them during animal exposure helped. So did giving the unshifted twin a job. Netta likes authority, June said. Oren likes snacks. Universal management principles, Bix observed from the reading table. Cal signed the acknowledgement form. Hazel checked the signature and date. You read it all, she said. That's why it took time. My former aide signed without reading. Fairy soulmate? She also initialed the line stating she had not skipped any sections. Bold. Hazel looked at him over the binder. Thank you. 2 ordinary words. The way she said them made him understand she did not offer trust wholesale. She built it from receipts. At 4:45, he stood on a stepladder wiping purple handprints from the ceiling. He did not ask how they had arrived. Questions implied there were answers. The entry bell rang. Fox scent hit him first. Bergamot perfume, expensive wool, and the sharp bright note of someone anticipating a performance. Maribel Bell stepped inside. Her black hair curved exactly against her jaw. A gold fox pin gleamed at her collar. 5 years disappeared, leaving Cal in the doorway of their old apartment, with another man's watch on the bedside table, and Maribel asking why he had come home early, as if punctuality were the betrayal. Her copper-brown eyes found him. Delight flashed. Cal's body made a decision his dignity would dispute for years. He stepped backward into the supply cupboard and pulled the door shut. Mop handles struck his shoulder. A bucket settled over his head. The cupboard smelled of lemon concentrate and cowardice. Outside, Hazel said, "Miss Bell, you're early." "Lucky me." Maribel's voice floated closer. "Was that Cal?" Cal held his breath. Tansy spoke with the grave precision of a tiny judge. "The cupboard is growling." Cal stood beneath the bucket and listened to Maribel laugh. It was the same laugh she had used when he arrived home early 5 years ago and asked whose watch lay beside their bed. Not nervous, not ashamed, amused by the inconvenience of being caught. She had explained in stages. The watch belonged to a coworker. The coworker had only stopped by. The affair had happened once, then twice, then for 8 months. Each new truth appeared only after the previous one became impossible to maintain. Cal had packed a duffel while she told him he was overreacting. He had slept on his brother's couch, changed job sites, and let Maribel tell Bellwether they split because he wasn't ready for a family. Correcting her would have required saying aloud that the woman he planned to marry found him insufficient and replaced him before returning the original. So he said nothing. Silence had felt dignified then. Inside Hazel's supply cupboard, with Tansy asking why the pipes knew profanity, dignity looked suspiciously like cowardice wearing clean boots. The handle shifted. Cal braced for Hazel to open the door. Instead, Maribel said, "Tell him I said hello." The entry bell rang behind her. Cal closed his eyes. Tomorrow, he promised himself. Tomorrow he would behave like a grown man with certifications and a spine. The bucket slid lower over his face. Tomorrow was ambitious. He would start by getting out of the cupboard. Outside, Hazel's voice remained cool and efficient as she completed pickup. Cal heard every practiced kindness, confirmation of Tansy's snack, reminder about Friday's spare clothes check, praise for the block harbor she had built. Whatever Hazel suspected, she protected the child from it. That made his hiding worse. Tansy deserved adults who kept adult shame out of her day. Hazel deserved an employee who did not turn cleaning supplies into a witness protection program. Cal lifted the bucket, struck his head on the shelf, and swallowed another bad word before the pipes could be blamed again.
Chapter 3. Hazel had never conducted parent pickup while a 6'4" employee concealed himself behind 48 rolls of toilet paper. She disliked novelty and regulated procedures. "The pipes," she told Tansy. The 5-year-old tilted her head. Blunt bangs framed gray eyes that missed very little. The pipes said a bad word. Old building. Inside the cupboard, a bucket scraped. Maribel's gaze rested on the door. She wore a cream coat inappropriate for finger paint, and a smile that suggested she had already read tomorrow's gossip. "Some men dislike responsibility," she said. Tansy's fox ears pushed through her hair. They were small and rust-red, with dark tips. Hazel had seen them emerge twice before. Once when Bix claimed he had not hidden beets under his placemat, and once when a delivery driver called a 40-minute delay right on time. Hazel filed the observation for later. Statements came in 2 varieties. Some shared information. Others left fingerprints on somebody else's imagination. Maribel's belonged to the second category. Unfortunately, Hazel's imagination had already begun processing evidence. Tansy had greeted Cal by name that morning, though Hazel had assumed bellwether familiarity. Cal had gone pale at the family roster. Now he was hiding, from a 5-year-old. Hazel handed Maribel the fox-shaped backpack. Authorized pickup confirmed. Good evening. Maribel did not take the dismissal. How is the probation going? Within mandated parameters. I heard you needed emergency staff. Bellwether also heard Deacon Yit proposed marriage to a blueberry scone. He was checking the texture. Maribel's smile cooled. I'm only concerned. Tansy loves this place. Tansy's ears remained visible. Her safety is my concern, Hazel said. Her family's speculation is not. For one heartbeat, Maribel looked fox-sharp, rather than polished. Then she smiled at Tansy and offered her hand. I'm sure we'll see plenty of each other. The anti-glamour bell rang behind them. Tansy looked over her shoulder at the cupboard until the door closed. Hazel waited 3 seconds. You may rejoin society. The cupboard opened. Cal emerged wearing a feather duster in his hair and a bucket handle around his neck. Pipes? He asked. I panicked. Comforting. Why were you in my cupboard? I also panicked. Less comforting. He removed the feather duster. Shame held his shoulders rigid. Hazel did not possess a bear's nose, but she could recognize a person expecting ridicule. She refused to provide it. Maribel is someone from before, he said. Before what? Mostly before now. Hazel stared. That sounded better inside my head. Your head has low editorial standards. His laugh was rough and surprised. It irritated her more than evasion should. She should ask directly whether Tansy was his child. Then, Mina appeared in the naproom doorway. Sorry, she whispered. The shriek hit. Hazel ran. Cal overtook her in 2 strides. The predicted inconvenience was Gus's diaper, which had failed on a scale ordinarily associated with infrastructure. 20 minutes, 3 cleansing spells, and 1 sacrificial romper later, Hazel found Cal kneeling beside the changing mat. His big hands fastened the new snaps with ridiculous delicacy. We don't hide from messes, he told Gus. Hazel leaned against the doorway. Interesting choice of words. Cal looked up and read something in her face. This is not a metaphor. It became one when you said it. Can I withdraw the statement? The record is permanent. Gus grabbed Cal's friendship bracelet before he could stand. The orange and blue threads disappeared into one chubby fist. Mine, the toddler said. Cal did not pry his fingers loose. Loan, mine loan, aggressive terms. Hazel brought over Gus's comfort wolf, a gray plush creature with one ear loved nearly flat. Trade. Gus considered the offer, released the bracelet, and buried his face in the toy. Cal checked the threads. A cub made this for me. One of the 6 you helped raise? Lottie. She was 5 and believed knots improved when wet. They do not. We reached different conclusions. The bracelet was faded, too small for his wrist, and repaired in 2 places. Hazel had seen men display photographs of children they barely knew as proof of softness. Cal wore evidence of care until the thread nearly broke. That did not prove anything about Tansy. It did prove her assumption could not be allowed to harden, merely because Maribel had supplied it with a suggestive sentence. They finished cleaning Gus. Cal sealed the destroyed romper in a disposal bag, documented the skin check, and initialed the changing log without being reminded. You know the form, Hazel said. Page 38. Most people skim. Most people don't have Bix conducting surprise audits. From the main room came Bix's voice. I heard my name used in a managerial context. When they returned, the vampire child sat behind Hazel's low desk, with a purple crayon held like a fountain pen. You are not authorized to access personnel material, Hazel said. I am documenting unsafe conditions. Which conditions? Gus's event created odor. Corrective action is in progress. Also, emotional distress. Cal crouched beside him. Would opening the window resolve the grievance? Bix looked toward the rain-streaked glass. Drafts are hostile to vampires. A fan? Noise harms concentration. What remedy do you propose? Bix folded his hands. 1 red ice pop. Hazel admired the negotiation while rejecting its premise. Snack schedule does not compensate olfactory inconvenience. Then I escalate. Mina, sitting nearby with picture cards, raised her hand. I smelled it too. Class action, Bix said. Cal turned his face away. Hazel saw the laugh trying to escape him and felt one threaten her own authority. Apple slices for everyone. This is scheduled nutrition, not settlement. Without prejudice, Bix agreed. At the table, Cal sliced apples into thin moons. Hazel distributed plates. Their movements fitted together without discussion. He caught Clover's reaching hand before it entered the knife zone. Hazel redirected Netta from licking a ladybug printed on a napkin. Both heard Mina inhale before her apology. Sorry. The short shriek predicted a cup tipping. Cal caught it without looking. Hazel stopped with an apple slice in her fingers. What? He asked. Nothing. That answer has never meant nothing. He had been employed for 2 days and was already quoting her patterns back to her. You fit, she said, before caution intervened. His expression went still. Not pleased exactly. Struck. Here, she clarified. Operationally. Of course, the word held teasing, but something vulnerable moved under it. Hazel returned to the apple plates. Attraction was inconvenient. Attraction to an employee was a policy concern. Attraction to an employee who might be hiding from his own child was a catastrophic failure of judgment. She needed facts, but the daycare kept presenting her with a man who cut fruit into equal portions, knew where the spare bibs lived, and whispered left shoe first when helping or in dress because he had noticed the child became overwhelmed if the sequence changed. Facts, Hazel thought resentfully, should arrive in useful order. At closing, Hazel showed him how to recharge the entry bell. Cal steadied the brass rim while she traced a ward beneath it. His palm was larger than the whole spell circle. Does it detect lies? He asked. No, it breaks glamour and coercion charms. Ordinary dishonesty remains a thriving industry. Pity. She watched him. Would that help? Most people think it would. That was not what I asked. He met her eyes. For a moment she thought he might answer. Then Clover's mother arrived, and the moment folded itself away. After Cal left, Hazel carried the day's compost through the kitchen hatch to Crumb and Kettle. Deacon was closing, his copper pans hanging above a counter dusted with flour. He took one look at her face and poured tea into the mug reserved for daycare emergencies. New hire set something on fire? No. Stole from you? No. Called the children larval? That was the warlock. Deacon slid a wry heel toward her. Then he is handsome and problematic. Hazel did not touch the bread. Why does everyone believe they can identify attractiveness from administrative distress? Because you alphabetized the tea while pretending not to watch him install a gate latch. She looked at the tea shelf. Chamomile now preceded ginger. Evidence was cruel. He hid from Maribel Bell in the supply cupboard. Deacon whistled. That is a great deal of man for one cupboard. Do you know their history? Only town scraps. They dated. She married Everett later. People said Cal didn't want a family. Hazel's stomach tightened. Maribel, mostly. And Cal? Cal doesn't say much when saying it would make somebody look bad. Deacon wiped the counter. Admirable, until silence begins doing the bad work for them. Hazel carried that sentence home with the compost smell still in her cardigan. That night, Hazel opened Cal's temporary personnel file. Cal Daugherty. Observations. Excellent emergency response. Good instincts. Poor candor. Possible undisclosed familial conflict involving enrolled child or children. She underlined possible. Hazel believed in evidence. She liked it labeled, dated, and incapable of smiling at her from across a diaper-changing station. She also believed men who abandoned children did not get access to other people's. The difficulty was that Cal Daugherty did not behave like a man who abandoned anyone. Hazel opened Tansy's enrollment file. She had no ethical right to use private family records to satisfy romantic curiosity. She did have a professional obligation to review authorized adults after a caregiver behaved strangely at pickup. The distinction was narrow but real. Tansy's birth certificate was not part of the daycare file. Her emergency form listed Everett Bell as father and Maribel Bell as mother. Both shared the same address. Everett had attended orientation, signed allergy acknowledgments, and answered every question about Tansy's early fox manifestations. Maribel handled most pickups because her work schedule was flexible. Cal appeared nowhere. Hazel checked the incident notes from Tansy's first month. One entry mentioned a panic episode at the Bellwether Pack picnic before enrollment. Family reports a bear shifter assisted with breathing regulation until fox traits receded. No name. That could explain recognition. It did not explain the cupboard. She opened Cal's background report. No marriages, no dependents disclosed for payroll. No child support judgments or custody filings in the searchable county records. Clean employment history. Volunteer hours with the North Shore PAC's Cub program appeared every winter for 7 years. Absence of evidence was not evidence of innocence. It was also not permission to invent guilt. Hazel deleted the sentence about undisclosed children from her observation note. She replaced it with, avoidance involving Maribel Bell requires clarification if it continues to affect pickup procedure. Better, precise, actionable. At 10:30, her phone buzzed with a message from Cal. Cal, the west shelf moved another fraction. I can come early and brace it before children arrive. Hazel, you are not authorized for unpaid work. Cal, I can arrive early and stare at it until 7. Hazel's staring is not compensable. Harsh workplace. She looked at the screen longer than necessary. Hazel 7. Bring the socket set listed in the maintenance cabinet. I will amend your start time. 3 dots appeared. Cal, you know what tools you own? Hazel, I know what spoons Clover owns. Tools are simpler. Cal, goodnight management. Hazel, goodnight provisional employee. Hazel set the phone face down. Then she picked it up and reread the exchange, which was behavior she would have cited as inefficient in anyone else. At 7 the next morning, Cal stood outside with a socket set in one hand and 2 coffees in the other. He had not come early. He had not hidden. He had remembered she took cardamom in hers. Hazel unlocked the door. The weak trial, she realized, had already become something she wanted him to pass. Wanting Matt was professionally defensible. He was qualified, observant, and capable of catching both cups and children before impact. Wanting to know whether his hair curled more in rain was less defensible. Cal handed her coffee. You look like you're drafting a policy against me. I am assessing risk. How bad is it? Hazel took a cautious sip. The cardamom was exactly right. Ongoing. He smiled and moved toward the west shelf. The brass bell rang when Netta and Oren arrived, with June. Both twins carried magnifying glasses. June carried a jar sealed with 3 layers of tape. School project, she said. Something with 8 legs moved inside. Hazel stopped drinking. Cal looked from the jar to her face. No issue with spiders? Not one, she said, retreating behind the check-in desk. The project remains outside. Netta pressed the jar to the glass door, so its occupant appeared 6 inches from Hazel's face. Friend, the child announced. Unauthorized visitor. Friend Spider. Friend Spider may enjoy the weather. Oren licked the inside of his mouth shield hopefully. Cal intercepted the jar, set it on the exterior viewing shelf, and checked all 3 layers of tape. His expression remained admirably neutral until he turned away from the twins. One laugh, Hazel warned him, and your trial ends in the alley with Friend Spider. Management rules through fear. Management understands motivation. His grin made the ongoing risk considerably worse.
Chapter 4. On his 3rd day, Cal got 6 supernatural children to nap simultaneously. Hazel stood in the climate pocket doorway as if witnessing either a miracle or a felony. Gus was a gray puff beneath a blanket in the cool corner. Bix slept in the shaded cubby after negotiating a precise wake time and a written assurance that unconsciousness would not be construed as forfeiture of snack rights. Clover had surrendered 4 spoons and clutched the 5th. Mina wore padded headphones. Even Netta and Oren lay still in separate mesh tents, their mouth guards hanging from hooks beyond reach. How? Hazel whispered. Threats. Her amber-brown eyes widened. I told them tired caregivers serve boring snacks. You weaponized menu planning. Learned from the best. Hazel looked at the sleeping children again. Something like relief softened her mouth, and Cal had the strange urge to earn that expression twice. She used the quiet to repair the west ward. Cal monitored naps from the hall while she knelt beside the chalk line, cardigan folded over a chair. Her dark curls were pinned up with 2 pencils, but smaller coils had escaped around her face. She drew a containment sigil, pressed the crescent scar on her thumb to the final mark, and whispered prepared intention into the wall. The room tightened around them like a held breath. Her hand shook. Cal rose. Sit, she said, without looking. You can see me? The floorboards file reports. He sat. She completed the line. Color washed out of her face. Cal waited until she had dismissed the spell before offering a juice box from the snack cart. I am not 4, she said. The straw is species neutral. I have tea. Your tea is across the building. This has a smiling apple. Hazel looked at the apple, which wore sunglasses and gave a thumbs up. despite lacking thumbs. Its confidence is unsupported. Drink. She did. Allowing help without turning it into a debate appeared to cost her more than magic. Cal sat on the floor beside the ward line. What happens if you keep casting after the color goes? Hazel pierced the juice box with its straw. Tremor, word loss, eventually collapse. And the ward? Holds if completed. That wasn't my question. She gave him a flat look over the smiling apple. You have been here 3 days, long enough to know you answer questions about your safety with information about everybody else's. The climate pockets hummed behind them. Cal kept his voice low, so the children would not wake, but quiet did not soften the point. My magic renews with food and rest, Hazel said. The western seam has to be stabilized before the licensing reevaluation. Could another witch do it? Yes. Will one? Professional ward work costs more than this month's tuition shortfall. There it was. Not merely pride, arithmetic. Can a non-witch help? Grounding reduces recoil. Shifter energy cannot power a spell, but it can give excess force somewhere safe to go. Cal held out his hand. Use me. Her gaze dropped to his palm. You have not been trained. She should have refused. Instead, she moved closer and placed his hand flat against the chalked plaster. Her palm covered the back of his. The ward pulsed once beneath them. Do not resist the pressure, she murmured. Let it move down through your body. Think roots, weight, anything stable. Cal thought of his bear in winter. Heavy paws planted in snow. Hazel spoke one word and released the unfinished tension from the seam. Blue light ran into his palm. The force traveled through bone to the floor. His muscles locked, then loosened. Hazel snatched her hand away. Pain? No. Numbness? No. Compulsion to eat chalk? Cal looked at her. Testing cognitive function. I have never wanted chalk less. Color returned to the edge of her irises. Relief touched her face. It worked, she said. Lavish praise twice in 1 week. I'll become unbearable. You are already a bear. They both went still. Hazel closed her eyes. That was not intentional. Which makes it precious. Gus woke with a sleepy howl before she could threaten him. Nap ended in layers. Gus needed crackers extracted from his own fur. Mina required 4 minutes beneath her padded canopy before ordinary sounds stopped hurting. Bix demanded confirmation that he had not slept past a scheduled snack. Clover woke with the 5th spoon imprinted on her cheek and denied possessing it while still holding it. The twins woke last. Netta sat up and asked, Bugs? Outdoor observation only, Hazel said. Oren rubbed his eyes. Mouth observation? Not a category. Could be, Cal said. Hazel pointed toward the play yard. You are on shield duty. When the children woke, they did so rested and therefore dangerous. Outdoor play began with chalk, bubbles, and a strict inspection of the milkweed patch. Hazel pointed to the caterpillars clinging to broad leaves. We observe monarch larvae with our eyes. We do not touch them. We especially do not taste, the twins chorused. Correct. Cal fitted their transparent mouth shields. Netta's yellow glasses sat crooked above hers. Oren's cowlick protruded through the strap. They look like tiny hockey players, Cal said. Hockey permits intentional collision. Tiny dentists? Dentists put things in other people's mouths. Hazel. I am protecting semantic accuracy. The twins stayed on the paved side of the yard for 8 minutes. At minute 9, Mina announced, Sorry. Her shriek sent every bubble sideways. Gus chased them. Clover sneezed a spark into the chalk bucket. Hazel turned to smother it. The twins moved as one. Netta unbuckled Oren's shield. Oren unbuckled Netta's. They leaned over the milkweed. Cal saw 2 pink tongues and 1 horrified caterpillar. No tasting the pollinator program. Magic flickered. 2 piles of clothing collapsed beside the garden bed. On 1 leaf, 3 caterpillars now clung in a row. Where are they? Cal pointed. She stared at a leaf. Which 2? The judgmental ones. All 3 caterpillars looked judgmental. Then a breeze lifted the leaf and dropped it into the open craft bin. Hazel lunged. The bin tipped through the door. Pom-poms, pipe cleaners, foam shapes, and 3 caterpillars vanished into a multicolored landslide. Nobody steps, she said. Every child stopped. Cal shut the door and blocked the threshold. Caterpillar search. What's the procedure? Hazel opened the binder. There was no caterpillar procedure. The realization offended her personally. They transferred each craft item into clear trays. Bix supervised from a chair, issuing chain of custody warnings. Clover kept trying to reclaim spoons that were not present. Gus's wolf nose identified glue, cracker dust, and something he described as old yellow. Cal found the ordinary caterpillar on a green pom-pom. Hazel found Netta when the blue pipe cleaner she held ate a bite from a milkweed leaf. Oren remained missing. 5 minutes passed, then 8. Hazel's composure narrowed into something brittle. The maximum duration is 20 minutes. We're at 11. He could be crushed inside something. No one has moved anything without checking. He could be... Cal touched her wrist. Hazel, talk to the child, not the fear. Her eyes lifted to his. He repeated what he had done with Frog Oren. We know what his instinct wants. They set milkweed leaves around the clear trays. Netta, still a caterpillar, crawled toward the orange pom-poms. Oren, Hazel said, voice steady again. Your sister has selected the orange tray. She will claim the best leaf unless you object immediately. A yellow pom-pom moved, not the whole pom-pom. Something on it. Cal bent close. A tiny caterpillar clung to the fuzzy surface, almost perfectly disguised. Got him. Hazel's knees nearly gave. Cal steadied her without comment. Both twins returned human beneath emergency blankets, furious that shifting snacks contained no frosting. Cal completed the incident report while Hazel called June. She did not minimize the event, though he could hear how much she wanted to place the right words between the mother and terror. Both children are safe, she said first. They shifted into monarch caterpillars after bypassing each other's shields. Total transform time was 14 minutes for Netta and 17 for Oren. No contact injury. We are changing the buckle design and moving the milkweed behind a second barrier. June's voice carried through the phone. Did anybody step? No. Did they swallow the caterpillar? Hazel glanced at the ordinary larva, now resting in a ventilated cup. Evidence suggests licking only. I hate that this is a sentence in my life. Understandable. They okay emotionally? Netta and Oren were arguing over whose caterpillar had been faster. Unrepentant. June sighed. I'll come early. After the call, Hazel sat at the child-sized table and placed both twins in chairs opposite her. You were lost, she said. Found, Netta corrected. We did not know whether you were safe. Oren's grin faded. Hazel did not lecture about rules. She asked them to look around the room from their human height, then lie on the floor with one cheek against the green tile. What can you see? Shoes, Oren said. Dust, Netta added. When you are tiny, the people who love you may not see you. The rule protects you from loving feet. Cal leaned against the counter listening. Hazel never confused age with an inability to understand consequence. Netta looked at her yellow glasses. Feet bad. Feet are useful. Feet need information. Cal crouched beside the twins. New signal. If one of you shifts, the other calls tiny emergency and freezes. And Cookie? Oren asked. No cookie for causing it. Hazel's tone was firm. A shifting snack because bodies need fuel. Cookie fuel, Netta suggested. Half, Cal said. Hazel turned to him. You cannot negotiate against management in front of labor. Bix raised one hand. Too late. During pickup, June reviewed the report without defensiveness. She hugged each twin, then made them show her the bypass maneuver. Netta unfastened Oren's shield in under 2 seconds. Cal whistled. Professional. Their father opens lobster traps with his teeth, June said. This is what I get for marrying talent. Hazel handed Cal a sketch of a rear fastening strap. Their heads bent together over it. This crosses the ear, he said. Then shift the anchor. Toward the jaw? Too easy to chew. They redesigned it on the back of the incident form while June watched. You two always like this? She asked. Like what? Hazel said. Half married over safety equipment. Cal's pencil stopped. Hazel's ears, not fox ears, merely ordinary ones, turned red. June collected her children and left laughing. Cal looked at the sketch. For the record, I would never use this hinge in a marriage. For the record, there is no marriage. Good, starting with conflict would be unhealthy. Hazel took the pencil from him. Her fingers brushed his. The contact lasted 1 unnecessary second. You cannot reward unauthorized ingestion, Hazel told Cal when he suggested cookies. I'm rewarding safe re-entry into human society. With contraband sugar. Morale is fragile. Bix raised his blood pouch. Management precedent supports snacks after transformation. Hazel closed her eyes. Half a cookie. The cheers rattled the ceiling clouds. At pickup, Cal saw Maribel's car through the front window. His shoulders locked. Hazel noticed. Is Tansy yours? She asked. The question struck cleanly. Cal turned from the window. No. Relief flashed across her face so quickly he might have imagined it. Then, Clover sneezed sparks into the dress-up box. By the time 6 miniature firefighter had stopped burning, Maribel was gone, and Hazel's second question remained unasked. Cal helped Clover choose a replacement costume from the unburned side of the box. She selected a pirate coat, 2 fairy wings, and a chef's hat. Occupation? Hazel asked. Captain Food Fairy, Clover said. Recognized under maritime law, Cal told her. Hazel swept the ruined felt hats into a metal pan. You answer questions about children easily, he heard the unfinished comparison. Children usually ask what they mean. And adults? Adults ask the part they can survive hearing. Her gaze held his. Cal wanted to tell her everything. The daycare smelled of singed polyester and half cookies. Oren was explaining caterpillar speed to Bix. It should have been the safest room he knew. Shame did not care about architecture. Hazel looked toward the empty parking space. I will ask again. I know. Next time. Finish the answer before something burns. Clover sneezed a tiny spark into her chef's hat. Cal smothered it with one hand. Ambitious condition. Hazel handed him the metal pan. Their fingers met again, and neither pretended the second contact was accidental. Tomorrow, she said. The answer or the fire? The answer. Good. He carried the pan toward the kitchen. We're out of hats. Behind him, Hazel laughed once. Cal felt it between his shoulder blades. He had taken the job because he wanted to be needed for gentleness. He had not expected to want the woman who built gentleness into rules, or to fear what her rules would make of the truth he kept postponing. Tomorrow was getting crowded with promises he should have kept today. He intended to keep the next one.
Chapter 5. Hazel did not get another chance to interrogate Cal because her mother arrived carrying cupcakes and institutional trauma. Sonia Pendergast swept through the entry without ringing the brass bell. Her silver-streaked curls bounced around her face. A tray floated behind her, propelled by a casual charm that made Hazel's left eye twitch. Surprise! The tray bumped the bell on its way past. Anti-glamour magic chimed belatedly through the room. Every cupcake lost its illusion frosting. 6 smiling unicorns became beige lumps with 1 raisin each. Bix examined the nearest cupcake. Management has deceived us. Outside food requires an ingredient list, Hazel said. Sonia kissed the air near her cheek. They're cupcakes, sweetheart, not contraband. For Bix, an unverified red filling is both. It's raspberry. Is the coloring beet derived? It's red. That was not my question. Cal stepped between them with the subtlety of a drawbridge. I'll check ingredients. Sonia beamed up at him. You must be the new assistant. You look sturdy. Load-bearing in most jurisdictions. Hazel hated how much she enjoyed him. Sonia's old nursery had been all affection and no protocol. Children ate wherever they sat, spells were stored beside snacks, and parents signed in when somebody remembered to locate the clipboard. Hazel still remembered smoke crawling across a ceiling, while 3 adults argued over whose charm had failed. She remembered being 14 and counting children because no one else had kept a roster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Missing 1. She could still feel the small hand she had finally found inside the laundry cupboard. You cannot arrive unannounced during probation, Hazel said. Her mother's smile thinned. I ran a nursery before you knew a ward from a windowsill. Yes, you did. The room cooled. Cal did not tell Hazel to relax. He did not flatter Sonia or pretend the boundary was emotional excess. He picked up the visitor clipboard and held it out. And now you can help this one by signing in. Sonia looked from him to Hazel. Her mouth tightened, but she took the pen. Purpose of visit? She asked. Unscheduled cupcake incursion, Hazel said. Cal coughed into his fist. Sonia wrote family support in large letters. The ingredients passed inspection after Deacon Yip from Crumb and Kettle confirmed the raspberry filling contained no beet protein, silver dust, wakefulness potion, or binding charm. The children ate at the table. Bix demanded the illusion unicorns be restored on the grounds that expectation formed part of the product. The glamour is gone, Hazel said. Sonia waved one finger. Frosting rose into 6 lopsided creatures. Those are cows, Netta announced. Unicorn cows, Sonia said. No horns. The horns are resting. Oren leaned toward his cupcake. It is not alive, Hazel said before he could lick it. Check, he said. No. Cal turned away, shoulders shaking. Sonia stayed for story time under supervision. She performed all the voices, allowed Mina to turn pages, and made the enchanted clouds rain harmless silver stars over the final scene. The children adored her. The book's rabbit was supposed to ask permission before entering the bear's house. In Sonia's version, the rabbit climbed through a window because friends don't need appointments. Hazel closed the book over her mother's fingers. Friends ring the bell. 6 children turned toward her. Sonia smiled too brightly. In stories, sweetheart. Stories teach expectations. Bix raised one hand. The rabbit has violated domicile. Exactly. Does the bear pursue civil remedy? Cal crouched beside the reading rug. Maybe the rabbit apologizes and uses the door. Sonia looked at him. It ruins the adventure. Depends what happens after the door opens. Mina took the book from between them and turned the page. The rabbit brought carrots. Restitution, Bix said. The story continued with the rabbit knocking, the bear consenting, and Hazel aware that Cal had preserved her boundary without turning her mother into a villain before the children. During free play, Sonia built a block tower with the twins. Her magic balanced impossible shapes on their corners. Netta and Oren squealed each time a new block floated into place. No stabilizing charms during child construction, Hazel said. It's creative play. It changes the task from balancing to watching. They are happy. The old argument reduced to 4 words. Sonia believed delight excused the scaffolding beneath it. Hazel believed love required preparing children for what happened when the charm stopped. Cal sat on the floor beside Oren. Want to build one with hands only? He stacked 2 blocks. Oren added a third. Netta knocked Sonia's floating tower down and joined them. Sonia's face fell before she hit it. Hazel's satisfaction vanished. Winning did not feel like justice when her mother looked unnecessary. Can you show Mina the cloud colors? Hazel asked. Sonia looked up. The ones that respond to sound? She has been practicing volume control. The invitation was limited, supervised, and real. Sonia moved to the padded corner. She taught Mina to hum the ceiling clouds from silver to peach, then lavender. The banshee child glowed with pride. Hazel felt Cal watching her. What? She asked. Nothing. That answer remains prohibited. You made room without surrendering the rule. She straightened a bin label. Adaptive management. Of course. But his smile said he had seen the mercy inside it. Hazel resented that love and negligence could occupy the same person without canceling each other. At noon, while Sonia washed frosting from hands, Cal joined Hazel in the kitchen. Your rule was reasonable, he said. Hazel opened the allergy cabinet harder than necessary. Most people think rules mean I don't trust them. Sometimes they do. She looked at him. Sometimes they mean you love something enough to plan for the worst day. The kitchen sounds receded. For a second, Hazel stood again in smoke, counting. The worst day does not ask whether you meant well, she said. No. Cal's voice stayed gentle. But it also doesn't get to own every day after it. That felt too perceptive for a provisional employee. You know very little about my worst day. I know you built every rule in this place around making sure a kid gets found. Hazel looked toward the main room, where Sonia had Netta and Oren on either side of her. Cal had seen through the binder to the frightened girl who wrote it. She did not know whether to thank him or ask him to leave. Mina solved the problem by saying, sorry. The shriek predicted a broken cupcake tray and ended the conversation. The tray broke into 7 large pieces and approximately 1,000 opinions.
Cal moved children to the reading rug, while Hazel contained the shards.
Sonia lifted the smallest pieces with a casual spell. Stop, Hazel said. Her mother froze. I'm helping. Your spell pulls by mineral content. There are metal fasteners beneath the cabinet. As if summoned by criticism, 3 screws tore out of the baseboard and flew toward Sonia's charm. Cal caught 2. Hazel deflected the third into a towel. Silence followed. Sonia released the spell. I forgot, she said. Not it would have been fine, not you worry too much. I forgot. Hazel's anger encountered the apology and lost momentum. Use the brush and pan, she said. Sonia did. She knelt on the green floor and swept every fragment into the metal bin while Hazel checked the children. They did not reconcile. They completed the task safely, which was smaller and perhaps more useful. At the door, Sonia signed out without prompting. I can follow rules, she said. Hazel handed her the visitor policy. Then demonstrate it next time. There will be a next time? Scheduled. Thursday, 10 to noon, if you confirm ingredients 48 hours ahead. Sonia's eyes shone. I will. She hugged Hazel quickly enough to avoid rejection and left smelling of raspberry frosting. After Sonia left, properly signed out and carrying a copy of the visitor policy, Hazel found Cal measuring the play yard window. What are you doing? Building a viewing box. Clear panel, sealed base, small habitat outside. Kids can see frogs and caterpillars. Frogs and caterpillars retain personal boundaries. That is not in your job description. Neither are caterpillar negotiations, but the market evolves. She examined the sketch on his clipboard. The panel had ventilation, a locking outside access, and no interior gap large enough for a child's tongue. Your lower hinge conflicts with the ward channel. He shifted it in the drawing. Here? 2 inches left. Then it hits the stud. The stud can move. Cal looked personally wounded. The stud lives there. The ward predates it. Which construction is tyranny? Bare construction lacks imagination. They argued for 12 minutes and arrived at a better design than either original. Hazel ran her thumb along the binder's edge. Thank you. For earlier. You were right. That is not generally considered support. It is when everyone expects you to negotiate against yourself. Her chest did the half-inch thing again. Why did you really take this job? She asked. He could have answered with rent or the dissolved construction crew. Instead, he looked through the window at Netta explaining why a drawing of a butterfly deserved one experimental lick. Because being needed for gentleness is new. Hazel swallowed. Cal looked at her mouth. She noticed, because she was looking at his. The attraction between them was no longer theoretical. It had become a workplace hazard requiring documentation. I need this daycare to pass, she said. It will. You cannot promise that. No. He tapped the drawing. But I can build the box. At 7 the next morning, Hazel found it installed. Polished cedar frame, child-safe clear panel, 3 frog perches, and a protected milkweed planter. A hand-lettered sign hung at child height. Friends are for looking, not licking. Underneath, Netta had already added in purple crayon, Why? Hazel laughed before she could stop herself. Cal, standing behind her with 2 coffees, smiled as if that had been the point of building it. The children tested the box after breakfast. Hazel verified the locks herself, then made Cal pull on every joint while she watched for ward flicker. Harder, she said. The frame or my feelings? The frame has measurable limits. Cruel before coffee. It held. Outside the panel, 2 ordinary frogs occupied separate perches. Caterpillars moved among milkweed leaves. The interior viewing ledge kept every child mouth 6 inches from contact. Netta pressed her face to the clear wall. Taste window. Looking window, Hazel corrected. Oren licked the panel. Nothing happened. He considered this, then nodded. Bad frog. Cal added a second line to the sign. The window is not a flavor. Bix read it aloud. This institution increasingly regulates private conduct. You attempted to bite your own reflection last month, Hazel said. The other child was provoking me. The mail slot clattered. An envelope from Bellwether's Office of Magical Family Services landed on the entry mat. Hazel recognized the blue border of an inspection notice. Her laughter disappeared. Cal retrieved the envelope, but did not open it. He handed it to her. The licensing reevaluation would occur in 36 days. Before then, the daycare had to demonstrate corrected staffing, stable wards, species-appropriate emergency drills, and safe community engagement. Open house, Hazel said. Cal read over her shoulder. Public event requirement. During probation. Good thing management likes plans. She looked at 6 children gathered around a window designed by 2 people. At the new visitor appointment written beside Sonia's name, and at Cal holding the notice without pretending it was harmless. You are no longer provisional, she said. His brows lifted. That sounds suspiciously like praise. Do not make me revoke it. Wouldn't dream of it. He lifted his coffee toward hers. Hazel tapped cups with him over Netta's head. 36 days. One open house, a weakening ward, a new employee she wanted in ways no staffing plan covered. For the first time since probation began, the list of risks did not make Hazel feel alone. Cal spent the next hour turning the public event requirement into tasks: tables, weather anchors, child identification bands, portable climate pockets, a locked animal habitat, and enough emergency snacks to survive either a crisis or Bix's interpretation of one. Hazel created the spreadsheet while he spoke. 1 tab, Cal said. Impossible. 3. Irresponsible. 10. We are not bargaining. Hazel paused over the keyboard. Acceptable. He looked at the blank workbook. You already planned 17. Your participation has been noted. The children watched from the viewing box. 6 faces pressed to clear material. Outside, 1 frog stared back with equal concern. Cal dragged a chair beside hers. Their shoulders touched while they labeled the first tab, Open House Master Plan. Hazel had built Abracadabra by turning fear into preparation. Cal, she was beginning to understand, did something different. He turned preparation into company. It was a dangerous talent. By closing, Hazel had assigned him responsibility for structures, emergency routes, and volunteer logistics. She had also granted him spreadsheet access. Cal opened it on his phone. You trust me with the master plan? Every change is logged. There she is. Hazel smiled despite herself.
Chapter 6. Cal discovered open house planning was what happened when anxiety learned to use a spreadsheet. Hazel had created 17 tabs. Weather contingencies occupied 3. What happens under extreme wind B, he asked. We relocate the puppet theater. Extreme wind A, we anchor it. What earns the second letter? Flying livestock. Cal looked toward Netta and Oren. Their ceiling is frog. The petting zoo has goats. They can't become goats. I am concerned about ordinary goats. Fair. Abracadabra's family open house would satisfy 2 licensing requirements: community education and emergency response observation. It would also place every child, parent, volunteer, inspector, animal, and tray of allergy-safe food in one public park. Cal understood why Hazel's spreadsheet had begun developing defensive architecture. The family meeting began at 9. June joined from the harbor in grease-stained coveralls. Bix's grandmothers arrived with matching notebooks and opposing opinions about refrigeration. Clover's father brought a fire extinguisher catalog. Everett came alone, took the chair nearest the door, and wrote every date on a paper calendar. Maribel had declined because of a showing. Cal had relaxed when he learned that, which made him resent the part of himself that still scheduled comfort around her absence. Hazel stood beside a poster labeled, Community Safety is Community Care. The event is not a performance of perfection, she said. Children will behave like children. Powers may manifest. Our responsibility is prevention where possible and competent response when prevention fails. June raised a hand. Translation, mine will lick something. Prevention remains possible. Optimism is beautiful on you. Cal hid a smile behind his coffee. Hazel assigned roles. June would supervise the animal habitat with a second adult. Bix's grandmothers would manage labeled refreshments. Clover's father would operate the spark-safe puppet station. Everett volunteered for setup and check-in. Maribel can do registration, Everett said. Cal's shoulders tightened. Hazel glanced at him once. Registration requires confidential attendance records. I will assign her elsewhere. She made it sound purely procedural. Cal still felt protected. Everett noticed. His pen stopped above the calendar. After the parents left, Cal found a new line in the spreadsheet. Parking coordinator. Volunteer needed. Subtle, he said. Traffic flow is important. 50 yards important? Wind can carry conversation. 70 would be preferable. Cal looked at her. Hazel continued color coding. Thank you. You are welcome operationally. His bear liked the word anyway. The children were practicing emergency responses. Practice, Cal learned, meant they invented emergencies no adult had proposed. Mina refused to simulate a banshee shriek because she could not lie about inconvenience. Clover crawled beneath the spark blanket and declared herself a spoon dragon. Bix asked whether evacuation suspended labor protections. You retain all rights outside a declared magical containment zone, Hazel said. Define declared. I say, this is a magical containment zone. Unilateral, yes. Management tyranny. Evacuate anyway. On the first attempt, Bix refused to leave until his blood pouch was included in the emergency kit. On the second, Clover carried the entire spoon basket but forgot her shoes. On the third, the twins exchanged mouth shields, proving the straps needed color-coded names. Cal knelt before them. "Why switch?" "Mine tastes yellow," Netta said. "They are the same material," Hazel said. Oren licked his own shield thoughtfully. "Mine tastes orange." Hazel wrote "Sanitation Review" beneath the drill notes. Mina stood by the exit, with both hands over her mouth. She could not produce a practice shriek, because her magic responded only to real inconvenience. "You can say the warning," Cal told her. "No magic needed." Mina shook her head. "It isn't sorry if nothing happens." He sat so they were eye level. "What do you feel before you know?" "Tickle here," she touched her throat. "Then cold teeth." "Can you tell us when the tickle starts?" "Maybe." Hazel crouched beside them. "That would be an early warning skill, not pretending, reporting." On the fourth drill, Mina raised one hand. "Pretend tickle." "Everyone secured breakables," she whispered. "Sorry." The children evacuated in 41 seconds. Hazel knelt to praise her, and Mina's shoulders lifted with pride. Hazel did not merely enforce systems. She translated children's strange bodies into knowledge they could own. That was when Cal realized his attraction had moved past inconvenient. He was falling for her. The recognition did not crash through him. It settled like his bear's weight, undeniable once present. Cal watched her shepherd the children toward the marked exit. She made control look natural, but he had begun recognizing its cost. The way she flexed her left hand after magic. The pause before colors returned to her eyes. The midnight timestamps on documents she emailed. During the third drill, she knelt to redraw a practice containment circle. The chalk line veered. Cal caught her wrist. Her pulse jumped beneath his thumb. His bear noticed, then noticed that he noticed, which was unhelpful. "Rest." "I am drawing a circle." "You are drawing a potato." Hazel inspected it. "A geometrically ambitious circle." "Sit. You work for me. Provisionally. That does not increase your authority. It reduces my fear of termination." Her mouth twitched. She sat on the low bench. Cal finished the chalk mark under her instruction. Which symbols cared about direction, pressure, and intent? Bare hands cared about not snapping chalk in half. Their priorities required negotiation. "Pressure here," Hazel said, placing her palm over the back of his hand. "I'm trying." "You are denting the wall." Conflicting feedback. She leaned around him to correct the angle. Her curls brushed his cheek. His bear went still beneath his skin, listening to her heartbeat and the change in her breathing. Cal turned his head. They were close enough that Hazel's breath touched his chin. The brass bell rang. Maribel entered, carrying a volunteer form, and a smile sharpened for Hazel. "I heard you need help at open house." Cal's body prepared to flee. He felt it in his calves, the humiliating calculation of covenant distance and alternate exits. Hazel's hand remained on his. He stayed. Maribel noticed. Her smile barely changed. "How lovely," she said. Cal always did enjoy playing house. Tansy's fox ears popped through her hair. Hazel stared at them. "Do they often manifest indoors?" "Static," Maribel said brightly. Tansy touched one ear. "Static doesn't have fur." Cal coughed into his fist. Hazel made no effort to hide her laugh. Maribel's nostrils flared. "I can handle registration. I'm excellent with people." "Parking," Hazel said. "Excuse me? We need a parking coordinator. It is outdoors, visible, and 50 yards from child contact areas. I volunteered to help Tansy's daycare, and now traffic flow will be the safest it has ever been." Maribel signed the assignment. Her fox pin flashed when she pressed too hard with the pen. She walked through the room as if inspecting a property she might list. Her fingers trailed along the viewing box Cal had built. "You always did like fixing things nobody asked you to fix," she said. Hazel asked. Eventually. Tansy stood by the block shelf, watching. Cal kept his tone neutral. "Your parking plan is in the volunteer packet." "I don't take orders from your girlfriend." Hazel's pencil stopped across the room. Cal's pulse kicked at the word. "She is the director. Here everyone takes safety direction from her." Maribel's eyes narrowed. "You never defended me like that. You were never operating a daycare." "No." I wanted a family. Tansy's fox ears appeared. Cal looked at the child. Not here. Maribel followed his gaze and smoothed Tansy's hair over the ears, forcing them down. Come on, she said. We're leaving. Tansy pulled away. That hurts. Hazel crossed the room. Fox traits should never be manually suppressed. She's fine. Tansy said it hurts. The air tightened. Cal smelled Maribel's embarrassment turn to anger. Everett arrived before it broke. Tansy ran to him. He crouched and let her ears remain visible while she whispered what happened. I'll take her, he said. Maribel looked from her husband to Cal and Hazel. Apparently everyone knows how to handle my child except me. She left alone. Everett kept one hand on Tansy's shoulder. Thank you, he told Hazel. Then his gaze met Cal's. There was no accusation there, only exhaustion. The moment gave Cal another clean opening to explain everything. He let it pass. At pickup, Cal remained in the main room. He cleaned tables while Maribel collected Tansy. His spine felt like a metal rod, but he did not hide. After the last family left, Hazel asked, Why did you stay? He looked toward the supply cupboard. Full. It contains 12 paper towel rolls and your dignity. No room then. She leaned against the cubbies. You do not have to tell me private history merely because I employ you. Thank you. But if private history enters my daycare and volunteers for parking, I require enough truth to protect the children. Cal nodded. Maribel and I dated. It ended badly. She likes to reopen doors after other people lock them. Does Everett know? That we dated? Yes. That she wants the door open? Cal looked away. I don't know. Hazel did not push. Somehow that mercy made him want to tell her more. After Hazel went to check the nap room temperature, Deacon opened the kitchen hatch. You know silence is still a choice, right? Cal stacked cups that were already stacked. Were you listening? The hatch is acoustically gifted. Maribel cheated. I left. She married Everett. End of story. Then why are you hiding like the story has an arrest warrant? Cal looked through the doorway. Hazel stood beneath an enchanted cloud, reading a thermometer with fierce concentration. Because saying it means admitting I let Maribel humiliate me for 8 months before I noticed. Deacon's expression lost its humor. Being deceived is not a failure of intelligence. Feels like one. Most shame does. Very efficient liar. You charge for therapy with pastries? Deacon passed him a rye knot. First intervention free. Cal took it. Tell Hazel before Maribel does, Deacon said. Maribel has no reason. Neither do gulls. They still steal lunch. Instead, they return to the spreadsheet, where Extreme Wind B waited with the patience of a future disaster. They worked after closing. Rain tapped the windows while Hazel read volunteer requirements, and Cal translated them into objects he could build. Portable containment boundary, she said. How portable? 1 adult carries it. You or me? Hazel considered. Me. Then it weighs 15 pounds. That is insulting. 20? Continue and it becomes disciplinary. He sketched a folding cedar frame with copper channels. Hazel leaned over his shoulder, one hand braced beside the paper. Her hair smelled faintly of cardamom and the child-safe paint they had used that morning. The corners need double seals, she said. Then it won't fold flat. Safety outranks storage. Storage becomes safety when somebody trips over it. They argued until a third design emerged. Locking joints, recessed copper, rounded feet. Better than either first idea. Hazel's hand rested on his shoulder while she studied it. Neither acknowledged the contact. You were good with Mina, she said. She did the hard part. You gave her language for it. Cal looked up. Her face was close, tired and open in the dim daycare. You do that for all of them, he said. I learned it from watching you. Hazel's fingers tightened once against his sweater. The brass bell rang without anyone entering, a harmless discharge as the ward reset at midnight. They jumped apart. Cal laughed first. Hazel followed, quieter. The building has opinions, he said. The building requires maintenance. Same thing. He walked her to her car beneath one umbrella. She did not need an escort. Bellwether was safe, and Hazel could immobilize a threat with 3 words. Cal knew that. His bear simply wanted to know she reached the car dry. At the driver's door, Hazel looked up at him. Good night, permanent employee. The promotion landed all over again. Good night, management. Cal stood in the rain, after the taillights vanished, holding an umbrella over nobody, and thinking Deacon was right. He needed to tell her, before Maribel did. His phone buzzed. Maribel, cute little setup. You always did like women who needed rescuing. Cal stared at the message until rain dotted the screen. Hazel did not need rescuing. She needed a colleague who told the truth before it became another hazard she had to manage. He typed, "Do not contact me outside matters involving daycare safety." Maribel replied immediately. "Maribel, Tansy is daycare safety, isn't she?" The sentence carried a hook he could feel without seeing. Cal blocked her number, then remembered blocked messages did not stop a person from arriving in daylight with a volunteer badge. Tomorrow, he thought again. The word had become a cupboard of its own. He locked the daycare and checked every latch twice. On the new viewing box, Netta's purple Y had begun to run in the damp air. Cal traced the word with one finger. Why hide? Why delay? Why assume silence protected anyone but himself? The questions were simple enough for a 4-year-old. His answers were not. Morning was already much too close for another excuse, and tomorrow had stopped sounding like a promise.
Chapter 7. Hazel's first mistake was permitting a flower delivery during finger painting. Her second was allowing Cal to carry the sacks. There were few dignified ways to observe a man's back beneath flannel. Hazel found none of them. Deacon Yip wheeled allergy-safe flour through the kitchen hatch from Crumb and Kettle. 6 oat, 4 rye, 1 bag labeled "Do not let the vampire negotiate."
Discriminatory, Bix said.
Accurate, Deacon replied. Deacon was a compact goblin with moss-green skin, beautiful black curls, and the conversational restraint of a parade announcer. He noticed Hazel noticing Cal. "The rye appears structurally impressive," he said. Hazel turned her glare on him. "The flower," Deacon added. Finger painting had begun as an exercise in controlled mess. Hazel taped paper to the tables, warded the floor against staining, and assigned every child an apron appropriate to their species. Bix refused yellow because it made him look institutional. Gus painted with both hands and one furry elbow. Clover mixed red and gold until the paint smoked, then hid a spoon in it. Cal wore the extended spark-resistant apron over his flannel. It read "Little Artist" across a chest never intended by the manufacturer. Hazel tried not to look. "The lettering is aspirational," he said. "The apron is protective equipment. You keep staring at the protection. I am checking coverage. Thorough management." She gave him blue paint for the twins and retreated before her face betrayed more than professional interest. Netta painted a caterpillar with 16 eyes. Oren painted one eye with 16 caterpillars around it. When Cal praised both, Hazel watched how he asked the children to explain rather than guessing what their pictures represented. Adults liked being correct. Children liked being heard. Cal seemed to know the difference instinctively. Deacon wheeled the last flour sack beside the pantry. "Delivery complete. Emotional damage complimentary." Hazel signed the invoice. "Your access hatch remains under review. Review me gently." Maribel arrived early to discuss open house parking. She complimented Hazel's adorable little operation. Tansy's fox ears emerged. Hazel crouched beside the child. "Do your ears often do that?" "When grown-ups make words funny." Maribel's smile strained. "She's imaginative." Both ears stood higher. Hazel looked at Maribel. Tansy's fox traits have consistently appeared during statements she experiences as untrue or emotionally distorted. She's 5. Her ears pop out when she's excited. They remained hidden during finger painting. Maybe she doesn't like paint. Tansy held up 2 blue palms. "I love paint." Cal's mouth twitched. Maribel saw it. "You've made yourself comfortable," she said to him. "It's my workplace. For now." The words carried threat without content.
Cal's trial period is complete. His employment is permanent.
Surprise crossed Cal's face, though she had told him the previous morning. He understood what she was doing, making the status public. Maribel touched her fox pin. "Congratulations." Tansy's ears remained out. Before Hazel could ask another question, Mina sighed. The shriek burst every flour sack. White powder swallowed the room. Someone sneezed. Someone else shouted, "Snow day." Gus shifted into a wolf pup and tunneled into a drift. Clover flapped her romper to make flour angels and released 3 hidden spoons. Hazel tasted rye. Cal emerged through the cloud carrying Bix under one arm and Netta under the other, all 3 white from hair to shoe. He set the children in clean air, returned, and stopped in front of Hazel. "What?" she asked. He brushed a thumb across her cheek. The touch was gentle, absurdly intimate, amid disaster. You had a clean spot. Past tense? Couldn't have that. Hazel wiped flour down his nose. His laugh shook powder from his hair. They were ridiculous. Close. The rest of the room disappeared into soft white. Cal lowered his head. Hazel wanted the kiss. That was precisely why she stepped back. Children, she said. Everywhere, he agreed, voice rough. Employment, also everywhere. Deacon's face appeared through the flower cloud. Do you need me to file an incident report or leave dramatically? Vacuum, Hazel said. Cruel but fair. They turned the disaster into stations. Hazel contained airborne flour before Clover's sparks could ignite it. Cal counted children twice and marked each wristband. Deacon shut the kitchen ventilation so it would not spread powder into the bakery. Tansy stood in the cleared entry with Maribel. White flour coated the child's fox ears. I look old, she said. Distinguished, Cal told her. Maribel brushed too hard at the fur. Tansy flinched. Cal held out a damp cloth, but offered it to the child, not her mother. Want help or do it yourself? Myself. She wiped one ear carefully. Hazel noticed the choice. Cal's care did not require ownership. He made space, offered tools, and let the child decide. Maribel noticed Hazel noticing. He has always been good at pretending, she said. Tansy's ears lifted again. Hazel's patience ended. Pickup is complete. The daycare is managing an incident. You need to leave. Maribel took Tansy's hand. Come on. Tansy pulled back. My picture. Cal retrieved the still wet painting, rolled it only after Tansy approved, and slid it into a protective tube. Maribel watched him with hunger disguised as irritation. Hazel understood then that whatever Cal had left, Maribel had not accepted the leaving. The realization should have reduced Hazel's suspicion. Instead, it introduced jealousy, an emotion with no approved storage location. Cleanup took 90 minutes. They shook flour from books, wiped every flat surface, and washed 6 children. Gus resisted bathing until Cal described it as a search and rescue operation. Bix demanded hazard pay. The twins licked 2 flour-covered foam butterflies and were offended when neither transformed. Foam has no pulse, Hazel reminded them. Bad butterflies, Oren said. They are educational aids. The flour invaded everything. It hid beneath puzzle pieces, inside the puppet box, and somehow between pages of a closed book. Hazel found a perfect handprint on the ceiling beside yesterday's purple ones. Clover? She asked. The toddler shook her head, releasing a white cloud. Gus? The wolf pup sneezed. Bix inspected the print. Lacks evidentiary basis. You are all accessories. Cal vacuumed the enchanted clouds one at a time. They protested by raining damp flour paste onto his hair. Hazel laughed so hard she had to sit on the reading stage. He looked down at himself. You find employees suffering amusing? The clouds object to you. I repaired their anchor. They resent accountability. Relatable. He sat beside her, leaving a white print on the green step. Their shoulders touched. The laughter faded without becoming awkward. You almost kissed me, Hazel said. Cal looked straight ahead. You almost let me. Workplace relationships complicate authority. So does pretending we don't want one. Her breath caught. He turned. I'm not asking you to decide in flour. The mercy of that. The refusal to make desire another emergency moved her more than pressure would have. Good, she said. Flour is not an approved decision environment. We agree on policy. When the room finally looked less like a bakery explosion, Hazel found Cal stacking ruined paper in the supply alcove. What do you think I did? He asked. The direct question caught her unprepared. You hide from an enrolled family, from Maribel. Tansy notices. Guilt moved through his face. I know. Children assume adult behavior is their fault. I know that too. Then why? Cal set down the paper. Because Maribel is an ex who makes scenes. Because when I give her an inch, she explains publicly why she deserves the mile. Because not everything painful becomes clearer when you say it in a room with finger paint. The boundary checked Hazel. So did the truth beneath it. Fair, she said, his shoulders lowered. But if it affects child safety, you tell me. It doesn't. If that changes, you'll be the first. It was almost trust, and almost could be a dangerous distance. That afternoon, Hazel and Cal walked the children to Crumb and Kettle as compensation for surviving the Great Gluttoning, as Deacon had already named it on his chalkboard. The bakery smelled of rye steam, orange peel, and burnt sugar.
Hazel sat with Cal at the end of a long table, while children ate approved cinnamon twists.
Deacon had closed the front door for a private daycare recovery hour. Bix's grandmothers picked up extra twists. June arrived from the harbor, heard the story, and laughed until Netta threatened to become a caterpillar in protest. "You will do no such thing," June said. "I have worked all day and refuse to search baked goods for my offspring." Orrin looked into the pastry case. "Could hide good. That is the problem." Cal helped Gus pull crackers from his fur before they attracted bakery mice. Hazel watched him work the crumbs free with patient fingers. "The pack cub who made your bracelet," she said. "Do you see her? Every Sunday. Lottie is 9 now. She says the bracelet's structural failure proves I am sentimental beyond design limits. She sounds intelligent. Terrifying. Did you want children?" The question changed his face. "Yes," he said. "I thought I would have them by now." Hazel's suspicion rose and collided with what she had seen all week. "With Maribel? Once. Before I knew who she was when nobody watched." "Then why does Maribel talk as though you rejected a family?" Cal looked toward the children. That answer belongs somewhere Tansy cannot overhear it besides cinnamon twists. It was a boundary, not another denial. Hazel accepted the distinction. Hazel nodded. Later, he agreed. The words settled between them with more weight than either acknowledged. "You are not what I expected," she said. "You expected a felon? A construction worker desperate enough to tolerate children? I like children. Most adults say that before meeting them." He watched Netta attempt to trade half a twist for permission to taste the bakery's decorative ladybug habitat. "I like them after, too." "Why gentleness?" Hazel asked. Cal turned the paper wrapper around his twist. "Bear shifters get used for strength. Moving, building, security, breaking up fights. People ask whether you can lift something before they ask whether you like anything. What do you like? Woodworking. Rain when I am indoors. Terrible monster movies. Children who negotiate in bad faith." Bix looked over. "I object to characterization." "And you," Cal said quietly. Hazel forgot the bakery around them. "That is not a safe answer. You asked what I like, not what is safe." She should have cited employment policy. Instead, she broke her cinnamon twist in half and placed the larger piece on his plate. Cal looked at it as if she had said something aloud. Hazel believed him. That was becoming the problem. They walked back to Abracadabra after the last pickup. Evening fog softened Corrent Lane, and the bakery's warmth faded behind them. Cal carried the daycare supply bag. Hazel carried the empty incident binder, because accepting help had limits. "Tomorrow we inspect every sealed container," she said. "Flower is unlikely to attack twice. That's what Flower wants you to think." At the daycare door, their hands reached for the key together. Cal stopped first. Hazel's fingers rested over his knuckles. Neither moved away. "Not an approved decision environment?" he asked. The street was quiet. No children, no parents, no Flower. Hazel's pulse moved in her throat. Still the workplace. Sidewalk. Adjacent premises. Management has broad jurisdiction. She smiled. "You noticed." He turned his hand beneath hers until their palms met. It was not a kiss. It felt more dangerous because it could be explained as nothing. They stood that way for 3 breaths. Then the mail slot clattered from inside the locked building. Hazel opened the door and found a single sheet on the floor. Dr. Brackett's preliminary open house checklist. Animal contact controls were highlighted twice. The work returned around them. Cal released her hand. "Terrarium meeting tomorrow? 8:30. Should I bring anything? Gloves, locks, emotional resilience. For the insects?" Hazel looked at the line-marked spiders. "For management." Hazel washed Flower from her hair for the second time and found white paste behind one ear. Her bathroom mirror showed a tired witch with damp curls and a smile she had not authorized. She touched the palm Cal had held. Rules existed because feelings were unreliable under pressure. That did not make feelings false. It made them powerful enough to require care. Hazel opened the employee handbook and reviewed the relationship policy she had written herself. Disclosure, no favoritism. Clear authority boundaries. Alternate complaint contact through the licensing liaison. Complicated did not mean forbidden. Her phone buzzed. "Cal, found Flower in my boot." Hazel, disposal protocol applies. Cal, to the flower or boot? Hazel, use professional judgment. Cal, dangerous amount of trust. Hazel typed 3 answers and deleted them all. 8:30, do not be late. Wouldn't miss management meeting her spider colleagues. She set the phone down. The smile remained. So did the question she had postponed. If Cal wanted children, why had Maribel turned the end of their relationship into a story about him rejecting a family? Tomorrow, Hazel would ask clearly. She would not let attraction turn missing history into an accusation. This time, she would finish asking.
Chapter 8. The frog disliked Cal on sight. It sat inside the open-house insect and amphibian terrarium, with its front feet planted wide, and delivered a croak of profound disapproval. "He says your beard lacks commitment," Hazel said. Cal touched his jaw. "He says your emergency signage is excessive. Frogs cannot read." Convenient argument. Thursday was an ordinary daycare day with one extraordinary delivery. The public open house would not begin until Friday morning at the Harbor Common. The terrarium occupied a taped observation corner in Abracadabra's main room, safely between the reading nest and a window that did not open. The puppet stage, folding gate, ward states, and box signs remained stacked by the back door. Cal and Hazel would take them to the common after the last child went home. No visitors, no audience, no demonstration stations. Just 6 enrolled children following their normal schedule, while 2 caregivers tried to convince themselves a frog counted as preparation rather than prophecy. The Rusk twins stood 3 feet from the terrarium, wearing transparent mouth shields and expressions of religious longing. Inside the habitat crawled caterpillars, ladybugs, 2 garden spiders, and the contemptuous frog. June Rusk held both children by the back of their overalls. "Look with your eyes," she said. "Eyes don't taste," Netta replied. "That is their greatest professional strength," Cal said. Oren pointed at the frog. "Big one. Largest possible," Hazel said. "Therefore most prohibited." "Most delicious," Netta whispered. Hazel added a second clip to the terrarium lid. Cal had learned that the twins' desire to taste animals had little to do with flavor. Their specialist called it form hunger, the magical equivalent of curiosity with no impulse control. A transformed body offered new senses, new movement, an entire temporary world. The fact that accessing it required licking a living creature was, in Cal's opinion, proof the universe had a sense of humor and no childcare certification. He crouched in front of them. "Tell me what caterpillars do." "Eat leaves," Oren said. "Turn butterflies," Netta added. "And spiders?" Hazel answered from behind him. "Commit trespass." June barked a laugh. Cal looked over his shoulder. "Helpful." Hazel folded her arms. "They appear without invitation and occupy corners. Like dust? Dust does not have knees." The garden spider moved across its branch. Hazel took one measured step away from the terrarium. Cal filed the information somewhere tender and mischievous. June handed Hazel a packet of photographs for Friday's display. A ladybug on a cracker, a caterpillar on a yellow crayon, and Frog Oren occupying one rain boot like a damp landlord. "Do we need the photo where he is on my toothbrush?" June asked. "Educational value," Hazel said. I replaced the toothbrush. June signed the normal drop-off slate, kissed both children, and left for her harbor shift. Netta and Oren joined Bix at the block table. The terrarium remained sealed in its taped corner. Dr. Brackett arrived at the daycare for a pre-event document check, wearing green-framed glasses and carrying a clipboard with an enchanted silver-blue verification ribbon tied through the top. They would inspect the common after closing and observe the public event tomorrow. "The ribbon confirms safety claims?" Cal asked. "Specific claims," Hazel said. "It cannot discover truth. It tests a stated fact against accessible evidence." Dr. Brackett touched it to the terrarium sign. "Lid requires 2 independent releases." The ribbon glowed green. They checked both clips, the secondary mesh cover and the 3-foot child boundary. Hazel explained the twin scale ceiling and oral trigger. Dr. Brackett made notes. "Why include living animals?" they asked. "Community education," Hazel said. June's position is that hiding every animal teaches the twins the world is forbidden. Learning to be near one safely gives them a life. The station also demonstrates exposure planning for other providers. Cal watched the twins identify animals through the clear wall. The point was not a day without temptation. It was learning what to do while temptation existed. That applied to more than ladybugs. Dr. Brackett moved to the emergency gate Cal had built. 1 adult can operate it, He folded and locked it in 6 seconds. The ribbon turned green against the instruction card. Hazel's smile made the morning's work feel like winning something. The document check ended at 10. Dr. Brackett left with the site map and a promise to meet them at the common after closing. The daycare returned to Thursday. Hazel led shape sorting. Cal tested the folding gate in the maintenance alcove. Bix checked label fonts for ambiguity. Clover delivered spoons to every station, whether needed or not. Mina practiced the warning phrase she would demonstrate tomorrow. Gus stored crackers in his fur until a cleaning sprite stole one and fled beneath the art cabinet. Cal caught up with the pup beside the cubbies. Inventory loss. Gus looked betrayed. Broom thief. Known offender. Hazel joined them, a pencil trapped in her curls. No food stored in fur. His system has advantages, Cal said. It fed organized labor, community outreach. She tried not to laugh and failed. The sound traveled through Cal more effectively than the sea wind. At noon, Everett Bell arrived, carrying 2 folding tables. Cal recognized him at once. He had met Everett only twice during the old relationship, once at a community fundraiser, once at a winter market, where Maribel introduced him as a client. Tall, sandy-haired, tortoiseshell glasses, human, quiet in a town where supernatural people often mistook volume for proof. Everett set the tables beside Abracadabra's back door. Maribel said she was checking tomorrow's parking route. Your assistance is appreciated, Hazel said. Everett's gaze moved to Cal. His expression held recognition, wariness, and something close to apology. Daugherty. Bell. Hazel looked between them. Tansy ran across the grass and wrapped both arms around Everett's leg. Daddy, the frog is rude. Everett rested a hand on her hair. Then you've met. Tansy's fox ears remained hidden. Cal felt Hazel's attention sharpen. Everett helped Cal lock the table legs. For several minutes they worked without speaking, the kind of silence 2 men used when neither wanted to begin with the obvious. Everett began anyway. Maribel said you took the job to be near Tansy. Cal's grip tightened on the latch. I did not know she attended until after Hazel hired me. I believe that. Why? Because no one plotting secret access chooses a room with sign-in logs, anti-glamour bells, and Hazel Pendergast. Cal almost laughed. Fair. Everett checked that Tansy remained at the block table. She remembers you from the picnic. She was frightened. You helped when Maribel couldn't. Anyone should have. Anyone didn't. Everett's voice held no challenge. Thank you. Cal looked at him. This was not a rival. Everett was a father trying to keep his daughter from being used inside a story he did not control. Maribel has been contacting me, Cal said. Everett's mouth tightened. About Tansy? About us. There is no us. I know. Everett rubbed the bridge of his nose. She likes unfinished things because they can still end in her favor. Does she know you know? She knows I understand more than I discuss. The answer sounded too much like Cal's own silence. That doesn't stop her, Cal said. No, it mostly stops me. They finished locking the table. No alliance was declared. None was needed. This was the moment to warn Hazel how Maribel used unfinished stories. Tansy was laughing at the block table. Everett stood in front of him, living proof that the child's family was not Cal's to claim. Shame still found his throat first. Hazel asked Everett about table placement. The moment passed. Cal watched her review tomorrow's loading list. If he told her now, it would not be gossip. It would be relevant workplace information and a warning about Maribel. He walked toward her. Mina raised her hand. Real tickle. Cal counted children while Hazel dropped the sound-dampening cloud. Mina whispered, sorry, and released a shriek that rattled the windows, toppled a stack of paper cups, and woke Gus from a nap he had denied taking. Nothing broke. The children applauded. Mina bowed, then returned to finger painting. By the time Cal restacked the cups, Hazel had moved to the loading list. The universe appeared invested in his avoidance, though he had supplied most of the capital. Later, while they tested the folding date in the maintenance alcove, she said, Everett is plainly Tansy's father. So Maribel's story is about why you left, not whose child Tansy is. He is. You answered that easily. It's easy. Then what happened between you and Maribel? Cal tightened an anchor strap that did not need tightening. The part where old humiliation becomes new entertainment. Her expression shifted. I don't find you entertaining. Devastating. That was not, she saw his smile. Also not entertainment? The terrarium frog croaked. He agrees with me, Hazel said. Cal bumped her shoulder. She allowed it. Behind them came 2 plastic clicks. They turned. Netta held both mouth shields. Oren was gone. Everyone froze. Oren's empty overalls sagged beside Netta's shoes. Cal scanned the habitat. The lid remained clipped. 4 caterpillars, 6 ladybugs, 2 spiders, 1 frog. Then a 7th ladybug crawled across Hazel's inspection clipboard. Hazel stared at it. Oren? The ladybug opened its wing cases. Hazel clapped both hands around it before it could fly. I have him. Netta beamed. Licked leaf. One of the habitat leaves had been removed earlier and left on the demonstration table. A ladybug had ridden out unseen. Cal exhaled. New rule. Hazel held the ladybug child inside her cupped palms. All removed habitat materials require inspection. I was thinking, assume every leaf is armed. That is not regulatory language. It could be. Ladybug Oren crawled onto Hazel's thumb. Her whole face softened. Cal fell a little farther before he could stop himself. Hazel carried Oren to the clear recovery dome on the craft table, hands cupped loosely enough for air and tightly enough to present flight. Netta marched beside her holding her brother's empty rain boots. Tiny emergency, Netta announced. Excellent reporting, Hazel said. The child swelled with pride. Cal placed Oren's shirt near the dome. How did he get the leaf? Then he remembered. During Dr. Brackett's document check, Cal had removed 1 wilted leaf, placed it on the supply counter, and forgotten it when Mina gave her warning. The habitat itself had held. His material control had failed. Mine, he said. I left it out. No loose organic matter crosses the boundary without inspection, Hazel said. Hazel wrote the failure and correction in the incident log without softening either. Oren returned human 9 minutes later, wrapped in a silver blanket and furious that ladybugs did not get cinnamon twists. Ladybugs eat aphids, Hazel explained. Bad menu. Cal offered cheese and crackers. Oren ate both, then attempted to lick the ladybug photograph on June's display. Hazel blocked him with 1 finger. A photograph cannot give you a body. Check. No checking. At regular pickup, June read the incident report, made Oren identify the abandoned leaf from 3 photographs, and took both twins home without once behaving as though she had attended an event. After the last child left, Cal and Hazel loaded the terrarium, folding gate, ward stakes, and box signs into Deacon's delivery van. They drove to the Harbor Common, where Deacon and 1 municipal accessibility marshal waited beside an otherwise empty stretch of grass. No children, no enrolled families, no audience. They positioned the covered stations, marked the quiet route, and anchored the puppet stage against extreme wind A and extreme wind Hazel, which meant any weather event during which she began issuing instructions in alphabetical order. Dr. Brackett arrived for a 40-minute site check, tested the emergency gate, verified the ward map, and left before sunset. Then Cal and Hazel walked the empty perimeter alone. Every station stood quiet beneath its cover. Fog gathered beyond the common. Their arms brushed with every other step. You caught a flying child, Cal said. I contained a known risk. In your bare hands. Ladybugs are not spiders. She bumped him with her shoulder. You were useful today. Careful, I'll treasure the praise. Hazel stopped near the puppet stage. Cal, I meant what I said. Complicated is not forbidden. His breath caught. She looked nervous, which made the sentence's courage visible. But incomplete information is a problem. I need you to tell me about Maribel. He had the truth ready. A car stopped beyond the locked service gate. Maribel got out and called his name. She had not been invited to the adult setup, and no child was with her. Hazel closed her eyes. Her timing is supernatural. Foxes don't control timing. Then she has trained. Maribel stopped on the public side of the gate, with her volunteer badge swinging from 1 finger. Cal made a decision. After tomorrow's open house, he told Hazel, everything. No cupboard? No cupboard. Hazel nodded once. It was a promise. Cal intended to keep it. Cal and Hazel walked to the gate, but did not open it. Parking plan needs revision, Maribel said. Send changes through the volunteer form, Hazel said. I was talking to Cal. Cal manages structures and emergency routes, not parking. Maribel looked between them. You have assigned him a lot of responsibility for a man you've known 3 weeks. Hazel's chin lifted. He earns it daily. The defense landed in Cal's chest. Maribel saw that too. Careful, she said to Hazel. Cal disappears when families become inconvenient. Tansy was not present. There was no child to protect from the answer. Cal stepped forward. I left you because you cheated. Do not rewrite that here. Maribel's face went still. Hazel did not ask a question in front of her. She simply stood beside Cal, close enough that their sleeves touched. Maribel pushed the badge through the bars. Maybe I won't volunteer after all. Then confirm withdrawal in writing, Hazel said. Parking still requires staffing. Everything is paperwork with you. Paper remembers what people later revise. Maribel returned to her car and drove away. Cal looked at Hazel. You heard that. I did. Everything after tomorrow's open house. I will hold you to it. For once, being held to something felt like safety. They finished the last setup check in silence. At the terrarium, the rude frog croaked again. He says tomorrow will be worse, Cal translated. Hazel checked both clips. He lacks standing. Still confident. Unsupported confidence is apparently contagious. Cal offered his hand as they crossed a muddy ward line. Hazel took it, stepped over, and did not release him immediately. Tomorrow waited around them. Children, parents, spiders, fire plans, and truth. None could remain safely contained forever.
Chapter 9. Friday's public open house failed at 2:17 in the afternoon. Until then, Hazel had considered it suspiciously successful. The gates opened to families and visitors at 9. Bix conducted the ribbon cutting because he objected to adult monopoly over ceremonial scissors. Hazel supplied safety scissors. He cut the ribbon in 7 determined bites, while parents applauded. Cal stood beside the emergency gate in a clean green flannel. Whenever Hazel looked toward him, he was already looking back. Complicated was not forbidden. The knowledge moved under her skin all morning. Their plan worked. Mina demonstrated early warning language. Gus showed younger werewolves how to locate the quiet path by scent. Clover performed a puppet story about a dragon who hoarded spoons until no one could eat soup. Autobiographical, Cal murmured. She denies all resemblance. At the terrarium, Netta and Oren named every creature without touching the boundary. Unlike Thursday's ordinary daycare lesson, an audience watched. June stood close enough to intervene but far enough to let them succeed. Spider, Netta said. Hazel remained 5 feet away. Correct. Come see Mies. I trust your observation. Cal leaned near her. Leadership through delegation. Leadership through survival. Dr. Brackett heard and made a note. Hazel chose to believe it was positive. At lunch, Everett sat with Tansy beneath Deacon's canopy. Maribel remained at parking, visibly annoyed that vehicles arrived only occasionally. Hazel caught Cal watching them. After the event, she reminded him. I remember. His answer was steady. She believed he intended to tell her. That belief felt like a plank laid across uncertain ground. Families moved through safety stations beneath a mild salt wind. Deacon served allergy-labeled hand pies. Bix distributed a child-dictated pamphlet titled, Know Your Snack Rights. Clover operated the puppet theater from beneath a spark blanket. Gus chased bubbles without once shifting into a wolf. Dr. Fenn Brackett observed from beside the registration table. They wore navy trousers, green-framed glasses, and the expression of someone professionally prepared to be disappointed. Hazel had documented the ladybug incident. She had added habitat material inspection to the plan. The twins wore improved shields with buckles Cal claimed could restrain a determined lobster. At 2:16, Maribel abandoned parking to complain that her assignment kept her away from Tansy. At 2:16 and 30 seconds, a volunteer opened the terrarium to replace a wilting leaf. At 2:17, Netta and Oren moved with the silent unity of jewel thieves. 2 buckles clicked. Hazel saw their mouths approach the branch where the garden spiders rested. No, she said. 2 tongues touched. Magic snapped. Child clothes collapsed on the grass. 2 spiders dropped from the branch and vanished beneath the puppet stage. Hazel climbed onto the registration table. The movement was instinctive, immediate, and accomplished without assistance through dignity. Every face turned toward her. Nobody moves, she ordered. Dr. Brackett looked at her shoes among the registration forms. Procedure? Nobody squishes my students. Sensible. Netta's mother knelt beside the stage. Netta? Oren? Hazel's skin crawled. Somewhere under the platform were two ordinary spiders and two children who looked exactly like them. One wrong shoe could turn a comic incident into tragedy. "Clear the area," she said. "All feet stationary until assigned a path." Parents lifted toddlers. Cal moved through the crowd, guiding each adult backward along sections of ground he checked first. His voice remained calm. His bare senses could not distinguish one tiny spider from another, but he could detect panic and prevent it from spreading. "Hazel," he called, "I need animal cards." They had learned the twins followed prey instincts in copied forms. Caterpillars sought milkweed, ladybugs sought aphids, spiders sought movement. Hazel reached for the card box on the end of the table. Clover saw the adults focused elsewhere and poked her head from beneath the spark blanket. "My show," she protested. Then she sneezed. The puppet curtain ignited. Gus shifted into a wolf pup and attacked the bubble machine. Mina saw the fire and shouted, "Sorry." Her shriek launched every balloon into the sky. Children cheered, parrots screamed. Two gulls stole hand pies. Everett lifted Tansy onto a folding chair and told her not to move. Maribel tried to cross the spider zone toward them. "Stop," Hazel ordered. "My daughter is there." "Your daughter is safe. Your shoes are not cleared." Maribel looked down, aware that any dark speck could be a child. She froze. The common became a study in unnatural stillness. Parents balanced toddlers against their hips. A marrow child held water in puffed cheeks. Deacon extended one hand toward a stolen hand pie because the gull had landed inside the unchecked zone. "Let it go," Hazel told him. "Apricot glaze," he whispered, "casualty of response. It will be remembered." Hazel stood on a table, surrounded by spiders, while the puppet theater burned. There were moments when reality became so precisely hostile that panic lost jurisdiction. "Jobs," she called. Cal looked at her. They had practiced this. "I contain fire, you move children, June finds the twins, Deacon kills power to the bubble machine, Dr. Brackett controls the exit." Cal pointed beneath the table. "Path checked. Come down." "There are spiders. There is also fire. Fire respects containment geometry." "Hazel." She jumped. Cal caught her at the waist. For one suspended second she was held against him, his face level with hers, smoke drifting between them. "Consent to relocation?" he asked. "Granted. Put me down." Conflicting feedback. "Cal." He set her in the checked path. His hands remained at her waist for one stabilizing beat. The bare gold in his eyes held no mockery. "I have you," he said. 3 words, not a claim. A fact with a time limit. Here, now, while the ground was uncertain. Hazel placed one hand against his chest. "Then do your job." His mouth curved. "Yes, management." Hazel pulled flame from the curtain into a tight blue sphere. The spell ate magic fast. Color fled her vision, but she held the sphere while Cal shifted partially. Eyes gold, shoulders widening, fingers tipped in blunt claws, and lifted the entire puppet frame away from the children. The fire fought containment, fed by dyed fabric and harbor wind. Her fingers shook. The sphere wanted air, the ward wanted power, her body wanted to climb back onto the table and reject the existence of knees. Cal exposed the dark strip beneath the stage without dragging it across the ground. June directed flashlights. Dr. Brackett moved every cleared parent through the exit and marked their shoes with green chalk. Mina stood beside the quiet path, crying after her shriek. "You warned us," Hazel called. "You helped." The child wiped her face and began guiding younger children toward the padded tent. Bix took charge of emergency snacks. 1 per worker, management included. Even in crisis, the daycare remained itself. June lay flat on the grass with a flashlight. "I see one." Hazel forced herself closer. A spider hung beneath the stage support. "Which?" Deacon asked. "Do not ask me to identify their faces." Cal placed 2 toy flies beneath clear cups and slid them into the shadows. One spider moved toward the left cup. Another descended on a thread toward the right. The first was ordinary. "Not ours," June said. "Wrong leg marking." "You can identify leg markings?" "I have twins. I identify everything." The 2 smaller spiders responded next, one creeping toward each moving toy. The 2 ordinary spiders remained in their web. "Both children," Cal said. Hazel trapped each transformed twin beneath a ventilated dome. Her hands shook so badly, the wrens clicked against the ground. "Nobody," she told the watching parents, "ever mentions the table." Dr. Brackett made a note. Within 6 minutes, every child was accounted for. Within 12, both twins were human beneath emergency blankets and eating enough crackers to threaten inventory. Within 20, the fire was out, and the bubble machine had been declared deceased. Those minutes left 27 memories. Cal counting children while holding the stage above his head. Everett kneeling in a cleared square with Tansy tucked against him. Maribel standing exactly where told, despite fury and fear. June speaking to 2 spiders as calmly as if they still wore rain boots and glasses. Hazel would remember her terror and the fact that she moved toward it anyway. Hazel waited for the inspector's verdict. Dr. Brackett brushed ash from their sleeve. Your prevention failed. Her stomach dropped. Your response did not. Competent division of authority. Document the buckle failure, habitat access lapse, and spider-specific management limitation. Cal looked at Hazel. Management limitation. Silence. I did not observe a table. Hazel decided she liked them. The parents gathered for an emergency debrief. Hazel stood before them with ash in her hair and described every failure without softening it. A volunteer bypassed material control procedure. The shield buckles were mutually accessible. Our spark station was too close to the habitat response zone. All 3 conditions will change before reevaluation. June raised her hand. My children also made a choice they knew was unsafe. We are working on it. This is not the daycare failing to cure them of being 4. Bix's grandmother nodded. I saw staff account for every child before protecting equipment. That is the order I want. Other parents agreed. No one withdrew. Hazel's knees weakened with relief. Cal stood behind the group, pride plain on his face. They had failed publicly and survived through honesty. It was a lesson Hazel would need again. Cleanup became another drill. Cal photographed the failed buckles before cutting them off the shields. Hazel moved the spark station 12 feet and marked the new boundary. Dr. Brackett sealed the incident notes with the verification ribbon, which glowed green against every recorded time. Maribel approached while Hazel packed medical supplies. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Hazel closed the kit. You crossed an uncleared zone after being told to stop. Tansy needed me. Tansy was safe with her father. The sentence landed. Maribel adjusted the cuff of her raincoat. You don't know our family. Correct. I know daycare safety. And Cal? Hazel looked across the common. He knelt with Tansy and Everett, showing the child how the folding gate locked. There was affection in the scene, but no claim, no secret role. Everett did not look threatened. I know what Cal demonstrates here, Hazel said. He demonstrates whatever earns praise. Tansy's ears appeared when you called my daycare adorable. They remained hidden throughout Cal's rescue response. Maribel's eyes sharpened. She's not a truth machine. No, she is a child whose body reports distress. Stop creating it here. Maribel walked away. Hazel turned and found Dr. Brackett nearby. Was that outside my authority? She asked. Parent boundaries are within your authority. You heard everything? The common is acoustically ambitious. Hazel added that phrase to the list of reasons she liked them. At sunset, after families left and June took the exhausted twins home, Hazel found Cal behind the singed puppet stage. His flannel smelled of smoke. A streak of green paint crossed his cheek. You caught me, she said. Occupational reflex. I was not in danger. The floor was. She laughed, helpless with relief. Cal brushed ash from her hair. His fingers remained against her temple. Hazel. Yes. I'm going to kiss you unless you cite a regulation. Section 12 prohibits threats you don't intend to carry out. His mouth met hers. The kiss was not cautious. Relief, attraction, smoke, and weeks of interrupted questions collided. Cal made a low sound that traveled straight through her, then stopped. Still yes? That was a procedural pause. Hazel. Yes. He kissed her again, slower, one hand warm at the back of her neck. The scorched puppet collapsed beside them. They jumped apart. Cal looked at its melted face. Judgmental. Hazel began laughing. Cal joined her, forehead resting against hers while the sun dropped into harbor fog. For once, disaster had not proven she needed tighter control. It had proven she could trust someone else inside the chaos. Cal touched his forehead to hers. Dinner when we finish? You owe me an explanation. I remember. And dinner. I can manage both. Hazel looked at the wreckage around them. Ash, popped balloons, empty cracker sleeves, and 2 discarded mouth shields that had failed at the worst possible moment. My house, she said. Fewer spiders. How many? An acceptable 0. Strict. Punitive. He kissed her once more. brief and smiling. From the other side of the stage, Deacon called, "The puppet remains unable to consent to this atmosphere." Hazel closed her eyes. Cal shouted back, "File a complaint." Already drafting. They separated, still laughing, and returned to work. The conversation waited at Hazel's house, no longer avoidable, and, after today, perhaps survivable. Hazel watched Cal lift the damaged stage with June. He did not promise disasters would stop. He learned their weight, asked where to carry them, and stayed until the ground was clear. That was why she trusted him. It was also why whatever he had not told her mattered. Trust did not remove the need for truth. It made truth worth risking, even when the answer might hurt them both. Especially then, she fully and finally understood.
Chapter 10. Cleanup began with Cal carrying half the puppet stage and Hazel pretending their kiss had not rearranged the laws of workplace safety. She lasted 4 minutes. Cal spent those minutes stacking bent stage panels, while his bear offered the same unhelpful conclusion on a loop. Which good, stay close. Human judgment supplied the missing complications. Hazel was his employer. Maribel was still circling. He owed Hazel an explanation substantial enough to survive daylight, and he had just kissed her behind a puppet with one melted eye. Across the common, Hazel rebuilt order from wreckage. She assigned salvage piles, checked the terrarium latches twice, and thanked every volunteer before allowing herself to look at him. Each glance landed warm and startled, as if she had discovered kissing him was both pleasant and administratively actionable. Cal carried the scorched puppet to the discard tarp. Its surviving button eye appeared skeptical. "I recognize the conflict," he told it. Deacon passed with a box of unharmed snack cups, arguing with the witness, seeking an impartial review. That puppet has never been impartial. Hazel arrived holding her clipboard against her chest. Her gaze moved from Cal to the puppet to Deacon. Deacon raised both hands. "I have remembered an urgent pastry." He left at speed. "We should discuss policy," she said, focusing on the bent corner of her inspection checklist. The puppet filed already. Employee relationships. Cal's humor eased. "Do you regret it?" Hazel met his gaze. "No." The word warmed him more than the kiss had. "I wrote the policy," she continued. "Disclosure to the licensing liaison. Alternate complaint contact. No relationship-linked scheduling or compensation decisions without review." "You researched this?" "I reviewed it Thursday, before I kissed you. I planned for foreseeable risks." "I was foreseeable?" Color rose in her cheeks. "Do not become pleased with yourself." "Too late." She straightened his collar. "We disclose Monday. Until then, no intimacy during operating hours or child contact events." "The event is over." Hazel glanced around. "Cleanup remains. Management is merciless." Management just kissed an employee behind a damaged puppet theater. Management contains multitudes. They packed in companionable embarrassment. Hazel inventoried damaged materials. Cal loaded folding tables into Everett's station wagon. When he returned for the emergency kit, Maribel waited beside the terrarium trailer. "So that's what this is," she said. "A daycare open house. You know what I mean." Her perfume hit too sweet. Cal stepped back. "I'm happy," he said. The realization arrived with the words, "Leave it alone. With her, she watches you like a disciplinary hearing. I like clear expectations." Maribel's fingers closed around her handbag strap. "Sometimes, I think I chose the safe life instead of the right one." "You didn't choose. You overlapped." Her face hardened. "We were good together. Until you cheated. One mistake. 8 months isn't a mistake. It's a subscription. You never fought for me. You were not a disputed parking space." "I made a mistake," Maribel said. "You made appointments. You checked out before I met him. And you could have left. You would have let me." The logic was complete in her mind. Maribel did not want a partner who chose her. She wanted proof someone would fight her own decisions and call the fight devotion. "I did let you," Cal said. "I am still letting you. And now you're punishing me with her. Hazel is not an object positioned in relation to you." Everett approached from the parking area, close enough to hear. He stopped beside the station wagon. Maribel saw him. For once, she had no version ready. Everett looked at Cal. "Everything loaded except the ward kit. I'll get it." "Say something," Maribel told her husband. Everett's gaze remained tired. "Go home. Tansy has had enough adult emotion for one day." She caught Cal's sleeve instead. Behind Maribel, Hazel stopped with a supply box in her arms. Cal saw the instant she misunderstood the closeness, not the words. He moved toward her. Maribel caught his sleeve. The children miss you. Hazel's expression closed. They don't know me, Cal said. Tansy does. Because he had helped Tansy through a shift panic at a pack picnic the previous summer. Her ears and tail had appeared in front of human children, and Maribel had frozen, more worried about attention than her terrified daughter. Cal had sat beneath a picnic table with Tansy and taught her to breathe until the ears receded. The memory remained vivid. Tansy beneath a picnic table, rust-red ears exposed, while human children pointed. Maribel had repeated, "Make them go away," as if the ears were misbehavior. Cal had crawled into the grass and asked Tansy to count cedar smells, then bread, then sun-warmed wood. Her breathing slowed. Her tail receded. The ears remained until she decided she was ready. Everett had arrived late from work and thanked Cal so fiercely it embarrassed them both. Tansy remembered safety. Maribel interpreted that memory as possession. Not because he was her father, but Hazel had already carried the box away. Cal followed and took it from her. "That wasn't, you don't owe me an explanation," she said. "I think I do." She looked at him then, hurt hidden behind professionalism. "Does she want you back?" "Yes." "Do you want her?" "No." That answer came without shame. Hazel's shoulders loosened. "Her children?" she asked. Cal heard the question inside the question, but not its full shape. "I care whether they're safe." "That was not what I asked." "I know." He needed to stop making Hazel reconstruct his history from Maribel's behavior. The children were Everett's. Cal had left years before either birth. The humiliating reason could wait for privacy. Those facts could not. Everett called from the parking area. "Hazel, the ward stakes in this box are flashing." Hazel turned. They should not be. One of Clover's sparks had fallen into the stored copper stakes, activating a feedback loop. Hazel opened the lid and blue light struck her hands. Dr. Brackett had left their verification ribbon tied around the sealed inspection folder. Hazel pulled it free. "Claim, no active current passes outside the copper channels." The ribbon flashed red. "Useful," Cal said. "Terrifying." They tested the stakes one by one. The fourth glowed red, then the seventh. Clover's spark had bridged 2 channels through a fallen metal spoon. "Of course," Hazel said. Clover, watching from Everett's safe boundary, patted her pocket. "Spoon helping. Spoon is under review." Cal removed his friendship bracelet before grounding the box. Hazel noticed. Non-conductive thread. Lottie tied in a metallic bead. "You remembered. People I care for are worth remembering accurately." Their eyes met over the dangerous blue light. Cal knocked it shut. "Don't touch it again. I know my equipment. Your fingers are shaking." She looked down, angry at her body for reporting her limits. Cal grounded the box against the damp earth while Hazel dismantled the charm, one careful line at a time. Everett kept Tansy back. Maribel stood apart, watching. When the last glow died, Hazel sat hard on the grass. Color had drained from her sight. He recognized the unfocused way she looked past him. Cal opened an emergency juice box and placed the straw against her lips. "I hate that apple. It believes in you." She drank. Cal sat beside her, shoulder braced against hers so the shivering had somewhere to go. Everett packed the corrected stakes. Tansy brought Hazel a cracker. "For magic," the child said. "Thank you." Maribel watched her daughter care for the woman beside Cal, then turned away. Cal crouched beside her. "Home. I still have inventory. I have hands. Overqualified ones. Exploit me." Everett cleared his throat. "I can take the remaining tables." Hazel accepted. Cal watched her make the choice to let someone else finish a task and understood it cost her. At dusk, he locked Abracadabra while Hazel completed the incident log. The daycare felt different after the kiss, charged not with magic, but with possibility. They returned equipment in 2 trips. The children were gone, leaving the peculiar silence of the room that had sped all day loud. Hazel checked every window and ward. Cal rebuilt the puppet frame at the craft table. "It can be repaired?" she asked. "Everything can be repaired." Demonstrably false. He set down the screwdriver. "Everything made of wood and screws. People require different parts." "What parts?" "Truth, changed behavior, time." The answer moved between them. "Everett is Tansy's father," he said. "Rowan's too. Both children were born after Maribel and I ended." Hazel waited for the qualification. There was none. "Then Maribel knows perfectly well you are not their father." "Yes." The repaired puppet's remaining eye fell out, and rolled across the table. They watched it drop. Even in pieces, Cal said, it objects. Hazel did not let the joke close the subject. Why did your relationship end? That answer contained years of shame, not uncertainty about the children. At dinner, he said, without a child emergency between sentences. She agreed. They documented the repaired equipment together. Hazel dictated. Cal typed because ward tremor still made her fingers unreliable. Do not summarize, she warned. I am writing every word. You replaced failed catastrophically with malfunctioned. The buckle opened. It did not develop a political agenda. 2 children became spiders. Failed catastrophically, Cal typed. The report included the successful response as carefully as the failures. Mina's early warning. Bix's snack distribution. June's identification. Cal's cleared paths. Hazel hesitated over her own role. Director entered active zone despite documented phobia, Cal said. Director climbed onto registration table. Temporary elevation for improved command visibility. Hazel looked at him. What? You are attempting to protect my dignity in an official document. Your dignity was not licensed for that table. She laughed and let him keep the sentence. When the report was complete, they emailed it to Dr. Brackett. Their reply arrived within minutes. Corrective plan received. Table not observed. Cal read it aloud. I definitely like them, Hazel said. Dinner, Hazel said without looking up. Is that a noun or command? Invitation, she met his eyes. Come home with me. We can discuss all the explanations we keep interrupting. Hope made him stupid. Dinner? I have regulations concerning dessert. Strict? Punitive. They drove separately because Hazel insisted leaving a car overnight would create logistical inefficiency. Cal followed her compact hatchback through fog-softened streets, past the harbor lights and closed market stalls. At a red light, his phone lit with a blocked message notification. Maribel had called twice through an unrecognized number. He turned the phone face down. Avoidance had begun as restraint. Do not answer, do not escalate, do not expose anyone. Over years, it had become a reflex stronger than choice. Tonight, he would break it by telling Hazel every part, including the humiliating ones. He rehearsed what he had not yet said. 8 months of deception. The public scene when he left. The way shame turned silence into habit, and habit let Maribel's cleaner version harden into town history. Not simple, but finally sayable. Hazel parked outside her building and waited on the steps. Her curls had escaped completely. She looked tired, wary, and beautiful enough to disrupt rehearsed language. Cal joined her. You could still choose dinner without explanations, she said. No. I am giving you a boundary, not a test. I know, I don't want the exit. Hazel searched his face, then unlocked the door. Inside, 3 ward layers recognized her and warmed the stairwell lights. Cal followed, carrying the emergency kit smell of copper and smoke with him. He was ready to speak. Hazel's apartment was smaller than he expected, and more revealing than any confession she had offered. Every shelf was orderly except one crowded with children's handmade gifts, a clay moon, a wolf painted purple, a paper crown labeled Best Rule Witch. Her wards formed copper patterns along the baseboards, but one armchair held a blanket thrown without precision. Shoes? He asked. Clean, so optional. He removed them. Hazel noticed his mismatched socks. Laundry failure? Personal expression. One has bears. Cultural pride. She hung his coat beside hers. The domestic intimacy of 2 coats sharing a hook struck harder than the kiss. Tea, beer, or water? Whatever accompanies truth. Hazel's expression softened. Usually tea, sometimes whiskey. Tonight, food first. Your grounding burn consumed energy. She had noticed his cost too. Cal followed her into the narrow kitchen. He placed both palms on the table, anchoring himself to ordinary wood. The truth remained ready. It had waited 5 years. It could survive 10 minutes of dinner preparation. That was the reasoning of a man who had turned delay into a moral virtue. Cal recognized the trick and opened his mouth. The oven timer began shrieking before Hazel touched it, activated by residual ward energy in the copper he carried. She swore, grabbed a towel, and ordered him out until she cleared the feedback. He obeyed. One more interruption. ordinary and magical at once. From the hall, he watched Hazel scold an appliance with formal precision. The timer fell silent. Contained, she said. Impressive. Dinner first. The truth waited at the table, patient as consequences. Neither could postpone it forever. Then she opened the freezer and announced, "The casserole contains broccoli." His rehearsed sentence collided with laughter. Cal did not forget. He chose the easy laughter and told himself he would speak after dinner. Explanation delayed was often explanation rewritten by someone else.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe for more free audiobooks by Wynn Valentine. Ready for more magical daycare chaos? Continue Hazel and Cal's story in Part 2 of Hexes, Exes, and Daycare Disasters.